this platform is independent, and we wanted to work with everyone across the spectrum. So folks are invited to share what they know, and the viewers makes their choice, and we ask the questions and we give the opportunity to answer.
This craziness, man, I do not care. Why am I so anti-establishment? Because of what I've seen the establishment do to people. That's why I cannot be pro-establishment.
Power is in the hands of the people. And it really did. What we all witnessed is the government, they knew that they were heading in the wrong direction. They knew Gambians are speaking in the same voice.
What law in the books that says the government has power to come out and go after folks' private citizens' properties and demolish them because somehow the government interest?
The only way that we can salvage our country is when everybody that gets their hand dirty. Don't sit there with your expertise and just to procrastinate everything that people say or pontificate, what everybody says or does. Let's get our hands dirty.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Another Sunday for the people, by the people. We're at it again. Pap Samba, how are you?
Alhaji Musajang, I am wonderful, feeling good, wishing my Christian friends happy Palm Sunday. Tell me short story, Musa. I'm going to go Catholic school, so you not understand that. So today is Palm Sunday. Then we got Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter would be Sunday.
Absolutely. When I extend my, of course.
It's particularly to Nene Frida Gomez.
Yes, my God. Nene Frida. And of course, Ogis, right here in Metro Atlanta. Extending one to Ogis as well. And William Joyner, this young man that I work with, and all the Catholics within the metro area. And again, Vincent and all of them, wishing them a happy Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday. So, you did go to Catholic school?
Yes.
Yeah?
I did. And I used to enjoy, to tell you the truth, most, one Catholic school, especially primary school. I used to be so envious of my classmates during, first communion.
Right.
Actually the first communion and then the confirmation, because how they used to be so nicely dressed in their whites with the cross and all that stuff. So, and I grew up in New Jersey around, the Catholics and all that. So, or the Christians, so yeah, it was always nice, definitely.
Wonder why though? Normally Catholic schools, students that go to Catholic schools, not only are they very smart in and again, and I look at you, I'm like, no, this guy didn't get
I know there was a dinger somewhere.
There's a missing link.
No, man, no, Catholic schools are cool. And the level of discipline, like Maneka says most.
Right.
They used to beat me up like crazy. Every time Mangi either Office Murphy or Office Sabali, because I have done something. I have to write my I have to really get serious about writing my book. It's going to be very, very interesting. Every time. It doesn't matter.
Well, you've been talking about writing these books for the past 20 years.
What about you? You have a story to tell. I'm going to Baba Gade delay when the pen, writing, so I'm a pen, and then the paper is looking at you, the pen is looking at you, waiting for you to put something down. Yeah.
But
I did an outline anyway. One time I was traveling.
You've done
I did an outline.
That's the difficult part, though. If you put together an outline, at least that would guide you
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Banka mane bosam lahar.
Mane, tey maa ko gis waa ji.
Eh,
Congratulations to him. Guy ngi jël pictures nag, you know, ñu ngi sol seen suit yi, the lawyers to be,
Fumba
you know.
def. But I
So
always
status am bi on WhatsApp. So he was arguing nag, mu ngi def practice argue, ma ne ko billaay man ñu ma yére mooy the judges and the and the opposing counsel. Mu ne ma du yomb noonu de.
but
You
I
know,
gotta
why
listen.
it's nice seeing him, you know, Banka, ndeysaan. Very determined.
Yeah, he's very much into that. Which
Very,
is
very, very determined.
really, I mean, it's always good to when circumstances change, then you said, okay, how am I going to respond? You have two ways of doing it. You can throw your hands in the air and say, you know what, to hell with it. I'll just allow Yalla Bahna. Or you do something about it. Banka is
Banka, if you know Banka, you know that Banka is the most resilient,
he is definitely
very positive outlook. I don't think there is anything that bothers Banka. More than a Banka di taga sa toga, you want to go and get a second opinion because all Banka cares about just giving food to eat. Oh my God, this is the greatest food. That's it. Nothing to Banka is not good. You know, why he's a wonderful guy. Gis na ko mu ngi sutu tay do na sutam bet sol tayam nak.
I just pulled the picture. I just pulled, but the group picture, right?
Yeah, Mungfa, he's somewhere there, and then if
Okay.
you go, you'll see videos of it. You know,
Wonderful. Congratulations to Banka. And of course, Mariama and the kids as well.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
dad is making a difference.
definitely.
Without a,
So, talking about Banka, on this day, 10 years ago, that was the last time that Solo Sandeng appeared on this medium
for the people, by the people.
with Banka. And you know what it was?
Uh-huh.
That was when the militants, the party militants, had that meeting at Tango.
At Tango, I still remember.
Yes, it was March 29th.
He came out, and then we...
Yeah. Banka had him on an interview. He talked about what they were trying to do, Momogai, the other NRP guys, and all those people trying to come together. And it was a Tango. I remember writing this, that now that a cross-section of militants of almost all opposition parties have done a tremendous job of setting the stage for a possible coalition and to confront the IEC, it is imperative that the diaspora support them. It is quite important. It is quite important that we in the diaspora become cheerleaders of this initiative and avoid any attempt to subvert this very important undertaking. These militants need encouragement, not admonishing, ideas, not mere rhetoric, and solidarity, not undermining. Because some of these were times everybody got so excited when that happened and said, you know what, maybe these young people will be able to bring it home. And then they said, about 16 days later, Solo was murdered by Jammeh and his thugs.
I remember the defining operative word from the Solos. They were, I remember their emphasis was electoral reforms.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yep.
And it was that the electoral reform phrase was so loaded.
Yeah, especially with Solo. Solo emphasis was that. The electoral reform.
This was electoral reform, you know. And we were like, okay, we need a coalition in interesting times, really. Interesting times. And definitely they were interesting times. But again, you know, things happened because of initiatives that people basically took at that time. You know, they just didn't
allow. The Lions Den, Sibopam.
Yes. From afar is always much easier, or should I say, safer. And even during that times, not everyone who wasn't even within the Lions Den dare even say a word. Everybody was playing it safe, especially in the diaspora. The majority, I can guarantee you, very few. I remember when you were getting an interview from Pa Usman Diouf. Pa Usman ne fit na ngi nelaw ta
I even remember one time I was having an interview with him. It was about ALD.
Yeah.
So GA, of course, sent me. say, you have this institutional memory of ALD. So go, one number talk in the interview, well, coach, unfortunately, my partners are not comfortable. Okay. Those were the days.
léegi la teen bi ndox mi bari ku nekk gi bëgg a wëgg xam nga luy wëgg
xanaa mooy root kay
mooy root ne ko teen bi kay fi mu nekk ndox maa ngi bari
waaw ku nekk kay mën ngaa wëgg fu mu nekk nii
ku nekk
nga jeex na it was interesting ñoom booy faate ngi woon si music yi but talking about music most I spent the whole of last night and early this morning watching Ajera's 2013 July 4th, the Asanjai. And man, I was so nostalgic just watching it. You see a whole full Mane Musa Jeng Kaftan and blue bag speeches, I mean, like throwing all over the hands, going all over the place. And you guys were honoring, is it Jabu? No, what's the name? There was this lady who helped with the Asanjai thing. Something Kinte, I think it's...
Oh, Jabu Kinte. She's around.
Yes.
Still around.
Give it an award for all. And I was looking at this and Yama in this and Yama Bojang. I, in fact, see you trying to get her to come on stage. You know what? Why she has to come on stage.
You know what? I'm going to leave it about Dangam. Every now and then I remind her. And George was there. So I was kind of reaching out for her to come and say something.
Well, it was nice. Definitely. Watching that. Yeah. I became very interested.
Do you know under whose watch and leadership that whole thing was happening?
I don't know. You tell me.
You got it. But again, Pastor, you know what though? Leadership is important.
It is.
Leadership is absolutely important, especially in our setting. I mean, not only you have to be bold, but you have to be able to take risk. And that Asanjai, you're talking about risk.
Oh, yes.
La ilaha illallah. That was a risky venture. A good number of people within the organization were very reluctant. And the talk was, community. And there was a whole lot of that talk. But I had lieutenants that were equally committed. they
well, were. What's his name? Keba Sidibe.
Boy Jata. I mean, these guys were like.
No, I saw Boy Jata at Fechami. It was very nice just looking at this small waji the Usman Manjangandama and Luneta marketing manager or marketing director. I saw Njilan picking up an award for Ajera and she looks so young and manager. No, I don't know. Listen.
Why so dege another go-getter is Usman.
Oh, yeah.
Usman is definitely a go-getter, really. Especially when it comes, and he still does that when it comes to emergency issues. If someone dies in this community, you know exactly, I mean, who people are going to rely on. I mean, Usman would be definitely the go-to. So somebody is asking about Sariang. Sariang, I mean, he's going to be coming in and out. I think he's, busy with something. So definitely we will be looking forward to seeing him, and I'm sure sometime during the program.
But I just send UMC.
Yes.
I saw the hyperbole of Musa Ajeng again, true to form. Yes. I'm glad. You know what, Mus? I am just glad, at least, like I said the other time, you're getting your hands dirty in this. Because at the end of the day, we cannot just sit here, the choreograph change what you are not directly participating in. And I saw Bob Toure, maybe you also inspired him. If you live in the Scandinavia and want to contact me, but why is not small done by? You know, wow, you are the real deal.
Wow. Tay programme bi la.
Wow.
Yes, Sëñ Moussa, waaw maa ngi dégg nga ne Moussa mu ngi tilimal loxoom loolu la de.
Yeah, I have to do that because I always tell them that when it comes to this platform, I will always try to be as independent when it comes to issues.
Yes.
And to the best of my ability. And I don't care about citizenship, but I do believe that for once, I believe that Talib Ahmed Bensouda bring about the change that the country needs at this time, at this juncture. I can't just do it by Nicole Lam Lame. You come out and then you put it out there, and hopefully, you'll be able to convince people because that's what it's going to take.
Of course.
That's what it's really.
This Musa Modunjai. Swipe is going to come. We have a long way to elections. All these party leaders will be brought here. Believe me, we have spoken to all of them, and it's just a matter of scheduling. And we'll have Swaibu here to talk about his vision for Doi, the country, and all that. Just like we are working to also have Usainu here and all these other leaders to come and express their opinions about what is going on. Adam Barrow has been running away from us, but Dr. Sise will be here to represent him. Boy, Kibi. Boy, like I said, teacher.
Professor,
yeah.
Yes.
We are looking
time we not political science. Our interest in Gambian politics, because time we just do political science, but nothing on Gambian. He was young and brave, so for us, like a lot of things that we know today, thanks to him, and his bravery at that time. So yeah, so
you gotta give him that.
Yeah. And that's why you guys, I remember when your arrest, Sait, when you were arrested, I was pissed. I'm like, if Sait Madi can be arrested, then nobody is safe in that country. Because he was taken.
Manka moto mos na de. Manka moda johnny the information. Moda nega fu nega. Gambe kay ene ko ñepa mos. Ene ko Gambe kay ñepa mos.
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't know where Madi is and what he is. I know that he gave me a thumbs up. So I'm hoping that he'll be joining us soon.
I'm sure.
Suma uncle Madi. Hanga ñun dañ bari uncle ci civil society space bi.
Mom he is the
Mom tamit ci civil society space bi moy suñu uncle fofu nonu from day one kay very early. So mo ñu daan train yépp. Léegi moom dañ dee dibir rek ma ne ko su gaay waxee rek ma ne yéen a ma jàngal de man moom maa ngi nii yéen a ma jàngal maa ngi
So what do you say to people though when they listen to you and then they listen to a Madi Jorbateh? Most people would say, you are the right of Madi. Madi is like on the left flank. I mean, is that a fair description?
Well, I think that yeah, like it depends. It depends on what role we choose to play in society. Like right now, I am more like a researcher, academic. That's the role that I keep playing. Not so much on the advocacy, which I do still. But I think Madi is still with advocacy, and advocacy has to come with the kind of discourse that he brings. So he brings some sort of a discourse on the table. Which is very, very good. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree, but is part of the conversation that we need to have as a democratic society. But the work, his legacy, and all those things still remains. And I cannot only see myself, but so many young people, in civil society space, we have come under Madi's training and mentorship. And so for me, those are the things that how we, the kind of role that we play today in society depends on what each of us decide to do. So, yeah. So
let's say, like me, when I look at you and when it comes to issues and I look at Madi, and without a doubt, I really, really, really respect both of you and what you bring to the table. But on most I tend to be much more sympathetic to your position. Like, you tend to be a little bit more, should I say,
Balance
and result oriented. Like, no, I'm under the circumstances. You know, if we want to do this, you're more into, you know, step by step. You know, we may not be able to everything to happen overnight. For Madi, like, you know what?
I take that.
He stated forward and about whether this is going to work or not, but this is the right thing, and there is no ifs or buts about it. Characterization of it, really.
No, I agree. Sometimes don't like it. I mean, like sometimes it's like that. And Madi has a lot of influence in terms of society. And sometimes I feel like he doesn't realize.
Exactly.
He doesn't realize the kind of influence that he has on policies, on all those different stuff. And sometimes I'm you know, the influence you have to understand that first. And then Gamuna push agenda. But for me also is about, you know, where we are coming from. 22 years of dictatorship. But even before that, you know, you talk about the country, you go back to 1965. And man, I always blame, you know, all of us are existing in a structure Bohamne is more post-colonial. And unless we are able to address that structure, everything when you complain about like a ping pong and direct, you know, people blaming each other. But then the problem of society is more of the structure. How do we ensure the current regime, the system that we have, make it better, and that it reflects also our current reality today. So today, for instance, I teach political economy in university. I tell the students, you know, only thing that we had at independence was groundnut. But over the period, and some of the students will come and say, but I cannot accept that because I know where we're coming from and the step-by-step process. And particularly for me also, what influenced me a lot is also the way, and that's why I also go to Jawara's approach to development, understanding what the reality of the country is. So you know, those historical facts for me, I put them into consideration. And I am not also expecting that every development I should be part of that. You know, I'm expecting that, you know, you have to create the environment for other people to come and take it another step. So today, Mana Hale is that, you know, I said, you know, what people keep talking about, Hale, but I don't believe in those kind of stuff. I believe in also what the reality is and how do we address those realities. But for Madi Mom, he has a lot of influence, and you know, and I think. You know, based on that influence, because he's a conversation starter. He starts most of the conversations that we have, whether it's constitution, whatever it is. So he's a very good conversation starter, and I think for me that is what I like mostly in terms of his approach as well.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, you and Madi, I know one place that you really agree is this war by our orange-faced pinpot tyrant, the direct man, the senile guy. Because I see you're writing, no,
you guys are in a dictatorship, and we need to come and save you guys.
No, of course. No, more than England third world. I stopped calling England third world, you know, because what we're dealing with here is just beyond belief.
Yeah, but then the issue is also we are all affected. I mean, America had a stabilizing effect, you know, before globally, you know, and everybody has seen that. But now, like, I don't think anybody respects America anymore. I mean, not even in opinion, nothing. I think, you know, that's the worst part of it. I mean, yeah, but and right now, you see poor situation. You poverty. Government be.
Musa Jeng's people are there. Musa is a Republican.
I guess. I'm not even close. If there's one thing that I have in common with him, it's my disgust. Really, I mean, and to put it very in its simplistic form, this guy is just making this big decision just because of him. It has nothing to do with how it's going to affect America.
Exactly.
It's about him, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about
and Lolo said, because I saw somebody, a Gambian, talking about, oh, now can do, and it's just the dumbest thing. People go and protest Trump every single day.
Oh, are you kidding me?
You know, we saw what happened yesterday.
Exactly.
This happened, you know, across the country. And the issue boy, the people that are talking now are the same people. Nyinga Hamini believe that Trump was the solution to the carnage in Gaza.
Exactly.
There were so many Gambians who were supporting him. Hey, if this man comes, he doesn't like war, he's going to end the Mainland. This is the guy who dropped a 2,000 bomb in Afghanistan. Chances are somebody told him, we have this money, let's test it. Those people have a lot of just drop it. So you have somebody who is a continual liar.
Yes.
All Trump does is lies. He does not. He can stand at the podium and just start a conversation, and you like, this never happened. I just saw where he was talking about. He spoke to the leader, the owner of Nissan, 92-year-old owner. The guy died in 2023. He was talking. I spoke to him, and he was like, "I say you are into cars and this thing." He said, "Okay, I'll invest 10 billion." And people were, that man is dead. Who did he talk to? And he says these things. Nobody. If you ask him a question, he will tell you, "That's a nasty question." With media, BBC, that's why your ratings are how manaka. And then he will just turn and insult you, and then. Come on. It's nuts.
And that time, I think one of the American think tanks asked me, how do I see Trump at some point? And I was comparing him to African dictators at that time. And I go, okay, this guy sounded like an African dictator, So the way he does stuff, and that's what he wants. And that's why I'm happy send protest, no king, no living. For me, those kind of stuff. When you create injustice, especially for there are rules in the world. It doesn't matter how big you are, no matter how small we are, it doesn't matter for me. If you saw Tonya and the Tonkat mom you want to address. And for me, that's the whole issue now. And and I feel you look there visa crib crap. Send visa then the Dr. Sayatal, you Taliban Dr. Sayatal, but before Babylon.
So Sait, talking about this No King's protest that I saw yesterday, we all did see, and I wrote something about it because I'm like, you know what? I like America's approach sometimes. They don't like something. I mean, they go out and they make it very known. And I'm like, here we're in a situation where most Gambians, I mean, the majority, this is polling data, saying that they don't think the president should run for a third term. Just don't. I mean, the majority Gambians don't believe that. They don't think it's good for our democracy.
Yeah.
You know what happened in 2016 and how we found ourselves here. It's like a Nahembo. We have disagreements and all of that. And President Barrow is in a position to say, you know what, I don't care about all that agreement. I'm just doing what I have to do. So, I mean, isn't it time, though, for us to at least organize and mobilize people? Nobody is saying that it's not his constitutional mandate to run for a third term. Constitutionally, yes, he can definitely run for a third term. But then, isn't it time for us to remind him that this was not the deal? I mean, the people that signed that MOU with him mobilized people with the civil society for Gambians to say, if 60% of us are saying that he shouldn't run for a third term, I mean, we can have a peaceful reminder, if you want to call it that Mr. President, we don't think this is good for our country. Whether that will make him change, but at least it will force the issue.
I think people generally say that. I mean, that these are things, like from 2018, Gambians naturally believe in term limits, like that's a fact. The issue also for me, most people, when it comes to send reaction, it has to depend on legality or what is not legal as well. So the fact that it's legal for him to run, people are saying, okay, either they don't support him, they say we can wait for him at the polls. So instead of the organization mobilizing, I mean, people are doing hand-to-mouth jobs, so people concerned more about that. But of course, for me, I see it in that kind of line. It's not like the people don't, they don't care or certain things, but they say that they feel that they have another option. That is the polls where they can either express themselves or not. And sometimes in Gambia here, you see that a lot. When it comes to election, people want to participate in those things. But any form of mobilization to raise issue, we track this in Afrobarometer. You see that about only 5% of the population will say they have either participated or will participate participate in some sort of a, raising an issue or doing, some sort of a protest, as you can say. But it's also part of our political nature, I guess, which has to change. But for me, as long as people feel like they have other option, for me, it's okay. It's still part of the democratic process. But the structure of our society, the way we compete for power, all of those things for me, I think is also counted, because politicians is all the same, so those are also part of the narratives. And of course, most Gambians are also very comfortable with, as long as the leader is there, is delivering service, is not giving them problem. I mean, they will not create problem for that. And there are, of course, those that will want term limit, but term limit will not take them. Wanting term limit will not take them to the streets or for them to mobilize. They'll say, well, if you don't want him, vote him out.
Yeah, but we all understand that there is a fix as far as political structure is concerned. I mean, just to say that, that to me, it's very easy to say that if you don't want him, if he can be term limited by going to the polls. But all of us on this platform right now, we know, looking at the trajectory and the way things are going, and if we're honest to ourselves, I mean, we would say that, this election is for him to lose. So for me, I mean, for the political parties to run on this issue, I think politically it can be very helpful. I'm not talking about stopping him from running for third term, but again, going to the electorate saying, look, this was not the deal, and this is not good for us. Now, either you are saying that even if this mobilization was ratcheted up, Gambians are not going to respond? Or are you saying that even if we were to have it, it's not going to be effective electorally? In other words, it's not going to affect, the electoral outcome. Is that... No,
I strongly believe that the whole issue of third term for some people, Gambia, it's not all of us. We are not the deciders. We are a minority in this country. Some of us, we are the minority. We have to accept that fact. Yes, we control the media, we get out, we talk about issues, but we are a minority, and we are not the people that make the decisions when it comes to the electoral aspect. Yes, for me, I always believe that the fact that Barrow, and I keep repeating that, like within 3 years, promise 5 years, 10 years, and now he wants to go again. It's going to be a baggage. It's going to be a baggage for him, and it depends on how the opposition also package that. But also people will tend to blame the opposition when it comes to some of these issues, that they were also there. Barrow did not, embolden himself. It's also today some of the opposition were with him before. So people are also looking at all those different elements. But I strongly believe that there are a lot of issues. Yes, he's delivering services, doing those things, constructing roads, but there are other issues that if it is well packaged and well argued, but that might convince quite a lot of people. And I think strongly Gambians believe in term limits, and it depends on how it is packaged and who is packaging that as well. But with term limit is going to be one of the issues going ahead to 2026, but we cannot remove it from that. It's going to be a deciding factor also for some people, definitely.
And so for the opposition, and Brother Madi is here, and I'm sure Brother
Madi
saw the protest here in the US. No King's Rally. And I'm trying to steal the idea that, you know what? No third time. And we use the same mobilization and go out there in thousands. Brother Madi, what do you think of that? Or is just me sitting here in Atlanta drinking my latte and just talking gibberish? What say you?
Thank you. Glad to be here. Good to see you, Sait. Always nice to engage with you, and my comrade brother, Asama.
Yes, sir.
All of you, the listeners and those watching, everyone. Yeah, Musa, we need regime change in America as soon as possible.
Tell me about it.
They are asking for the regime change in the illegal way against international law, but they are looking for legal and constitutional regime change in America as soon as possible. Either through the ballot or through uprisings. Peaceful protest. That's also another legitimate way to change government. Definitely. So I'm so glad Americans. I mean, it's just sad though. I mean, or maybe strange. I'm sure Americans have never thought they would be standing up to defend democracy. So they've been reading about so-called third world countries, the lack of democracy, and the fight for human rights. So to see that Americans now have come to face with dictatorship. I don't know what is the feeling like. I mean, I'm sure they should ask Gambians to tell them what it is like, and all these Africans, and I hope that will make them also reflect in the bigger pictures in universities in Europe. Talk to German students, Dutch students, English or British students, and so on. And these are Gen Zs, in the universities. As just a year or 2 years ago, I was in the Netherlands, and I used to tell them, you see, we have to be very careful about democracy and human rights to protect it. I said, you are Gen Zs. In your lifetime, you may not understand if you're a Dutch person or a French child, a German boy. You don't know what is dictatorship. You don't know what is lack of freedom. Anytime you touch the switch, electricity comes. Anytime you put on the tap, water flows easily. The traffic lights are functioning. Public services are functioning. Cities are clean and so on. The media is free. You can go and say anything. You protest. Every day, and it may give you the feeling that this freedom is sacrosanct, is unchangeable, is eternal, is invisible. It cannot go. I said, but you can lose this freedom. This freedom can be lost, and so we need to be very careful of what leaders we put in place, and particularly what leaders say and do. In the Gambia, for example, Jammeh said he can be here 1 billion years. And somebody can say, Jammeh must be crazy. All right. But I remember in those days, and some would tell me, no, Madi, the man is paranoid. I said, no. What these people say, it is not paranoia or they are crazy, even if it looks like stupid and everything else. It's like today when somebody says, Barrow should go for even 4th term, and that is, you claim that is a foolish comment. I mean, that's a stupid thing to say. I said, no. Anything that we say, particularly those in positions of authority, we should be very careful because we start to lose freedom from a very long distance. So what Trump has been saying, it is not just from last year or in his 4th term. If you check the Trump history, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you realize he's always talked in terms of supremacist, tyrannical, fascist ideas and so on. And so, and now you give this man, you put him in public office, you give him authority and all of that. And you see things are happening. So I told them, even in Europe, eventually, what is going to happen, those now who had voted for Trump, imagine the Roe v. Wade decision by the Supreme Court. Because you elected somebody who has all these homophobic, anti-women, sexist ideas, brings in judges, put them in the Supreme Court, and now that white woman in a white neighborhood, privilege and thinks, okay, this is our man, I mean, we are okay. And now he takes a decision and you realize immediately it is affecting your sexual and reproductive health and rights. So, and I mean, probably this is why many people also may not understand Madi, the way I respond to things. Because, I don't take things for granted. That I know a minister over there saying something, a presidential advisor sitting over there saying something that Barrow will go for 4th term, that is a concern. No matter what we think of this individual, yes. A minister saying that we will introduce accreditation for journalists and come with all in that is a concern. Because it can happen. So I hope Americans would also learn from this. I hope they change Trump as soon as possible. But to say also, the U.S. system has to change. I I think America, since the days of the founding fathers is gone, subsequent leaders until now, they have failed to live up to the ideals that they claim underpin the United States, the formation of the United States. And, instead of building a truly democratic, equal and just society that is a force for good for the rest of the world, they've turned the United States government into essentially a terrorist organization. A terrorist organization that is creating havoc across the world and now inside America itself in unprecedented ways. Because imagine that American agents, state agents would abduct individuals, all right, would detain people, for a year, for months, for weeks, would shoot just like that. They've been doing those things. So police have been shooting blacks, for example, and sending them in jail. But imagine we got to a point now we have state agents that, would shoot white women, white men. In addition, I think it tells us, how much America has failed and has really drifted from, the ideals that really underpin the, moved their founding fathers. I think Abraham Lincoln or Quincy Adams or George Washington, Jefferson would be so shocked to realize, because their idea of the United States, their idea of government, was so democratic, was so just and fair, that they would be shocked to realize that this is the kind of government they have. Jefferson said at one time that he would prefer a society with, newspapers and not without government, than to have society with government and not without newspapers. That tells you the extent to which Jefferson believed in the idea of freedom, in the idea of justice, in the idea of transparency and accountability. To now have an American government, clamping down on the media, banning journalists from the White House, from State Department, calling journalists fake and all of that, I think he would be so shocked to know that is the country that that has succeeded in. It's amazing. So for me, regime change in America urgently. Yeah.
Well, we got the midterms in November, and some of us are, having our fingers crossed, hoping that the Democrats will come in numbers and just take over the House and the Senate. I think that will slow him down, because he's only been in office for a year and a half. We need relief of some sort, Madi. Really.
Of course, that will stop him. But as I was saying, the American system itself has to be reformed, and the Democrats are as much a disappointment and a failure as the Republicans. All right, and these two parties, I think they are an immense disappointment and failure, and so they need to change the system in America, for America and for the world, honestly. So it is not just merely changing the Republicans or take the Congress, from them, or even replacing Trump, but the current framework in both parties has to change, honestly.
Madi, what you're saying is the truth. This whole notion of, well, if the Democrats come and take over, they can slow. Nothing is going to slow Trump down. There is something that people are getting here. The Supreme Court of the United States has now become the biggest partisan nonsense in this country. They went and made a ruling, not for democracy, not for the interest of the United States, but for Trump, by saying that whatever you do whilst in office is legal. So now he has the legal free will to do whatever he wants to do. He has the legal cover. And in addition to that, there was a time when, let's say, when Nixon resigned, he could not pardon all his people, because they used to be very careful who they pardoned and who they did not pardon. Trump will come at the end of his term, if he does not try to force a third term, because like you said, the Democrats are the most spineless people that you'll ever meet in the world. He would go and give a blanket pardon of everybody who would work for him. All these people that have committed a crime. What did he do? This man is a criminal himself. You know, he's
including
a felon.
himself.
You know, the crimes that Trump were convicted for, any other American would not be able to get a job in this country. Nobody's going to hire you unless maybe you have a business or your friend hires you, because you'll not be able to pass a background check. He's the president of the United States of America. The first action he did when he came, blanket amnesty to anybody who tried to overthrow the U.S. government on January 6th, 2017. That's what he did. And he didn't care about anything. And that's just what's going to continue. So the sad thing is, America is now, you cannot even, you see America, the good thing, the difference though, Madi, is the average American is not taking it and lying down. You see the resistance from people in the streets. The reason why he had to run away from Minnesota is because of the resistance that he was getting every day from the people in the streets. You know, and it's just good that you have other organizations that are not aligned to any of these Democrats, Republicans, like the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They don't care. Answer. Those people are not affiliated to these people. They have no problem mobilizing people within a minute. Hundreds of thousands of people in the streets. And that's what we were seeing yesterday. Because and this is the difference most. And the other difference too is like, to link it to what you're trying to say in the Gambia with the third term thing. The Democratic Party here in Maryland is not controlled necessarily by the elites, to borrow from Barrow. The people from Pajara and Pipeline, no. These are some ordinary young people who are a lot more progressive, people like the Madis and all these people, who would be like, you know what, we are going to mobilize people in the streets to protest. And you see old people, Musa, my job, I've seen old people come. The poster boards and markers, you see them. They were just, everybody is grabbing a poster board and a mask back, and this crazy man has to go on. So it's a different reality. And you have to have a very proactive citizenry that is ready to confront dictatorship. But I don't think it's only going to be enough with the Democrats taking the House, yes, and the Senate. They may give him challenges, but that will not stop Trump from doing things that are illegal. Maybe impeach him. You may not get the votes to convict him, and then he will just...
I kind of slightly disagree with this notion that somehow, whether it's the Republican or the Democratic Party, they're all the same. Or it wouldn't really, and like Madi is saying, there's a need for a total system overhaul. But for all practical purposes, we all know if Kamala Harris was elected president, we wouldn't be in the situation that we are in now. Wars all over the place. Nothing like that would happen. Using tariffs as a weapon, it wouldn't happen. Again, there is a huge difference, gulf, when it comes to when we have Democrats at the White House, and when you have Republicans. We all see that. When Obama was there, and I know most of you guys can be very critical of him, up till today, there's a reason why when you're unemployed, you will be able to have access to health care with this Obamacare that Trump and his guys have been working so hard just to get rid of it. My son is almost 26, 27 years old, starting his own business, trying to do his own thing. And the only way that he could get insurance is because of this Obamacare. Again, I think, Madi, if the Democrats are able to take the midterms, and I really mean like overwhelming defeat of the Republicans in the Congress, it is going to make a huge difference. Trump will be slowed down big time. They're going to go after him with investigations after investigations. They will be the one holding the purse, what he can do and what he cannot do. It would seriously pass on by. I think it's going to make a huge difference. For me, that's the only reprieve that I can see, that come November, I mean, I'm just hoping upon hope, Americans in their numbers would come out and tell this guy in no terms that we're the polling data is showing that right now, as we speak, they're against the war that he has launched against Iran. Almost over 60% of Americans have issues with that. And so many other things. So I am very hopeful especially what I saw yesterday too as well. Americans are not going to take this lying down. Even when you go to red states, Boise, Idaho, of all places, Americans are out there. You don't have to tell them that. Brother, so Mari, you don't Joe before you came on the. That is why I like Sait Matty's approach when it comes to these things. You are well.
Oh, senior man la. So he doesn't what a care. Magi anga fini Africa the advantage. Maglen rek nañ wax nañ tour rek mu jé. So ñoo fofu la gaay boka.
So Sait, what do you think with some of the reactions to what Madi is saying? And I'm sure you agree with the gist of what Madi.
No, man, for me, I don't see any difference between who Democrat, Republican. I cannot because it's American agenda, American policy, so it's the same. Like maybe for you internally, it makes difference, but for me as outside, of course, I will believe that if Democrats were there, all this US aid will still be here. Some of those things, the solidarity, international solidarity, might still be around, but in terms of war, in terms of violence, in terms of exploitation that America does, doing continually death around the world, I don't think those things will change. The military bases will be there, more interest, because all of these governments, they just make money for the rich people. And for me, those are the structural issues that need to change. It's too much of capitalism happening. Yeah, at the expense of life and
thank you very much. That's the biggest problem, capitalism. Thank you. I have no concept.
So, Brother Madi, we've all seen your reaction to this accreditation and media bill. You know how Gambians, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that are watching, they haven't paid too much attention to what this proposed, from the Ministry of Information. Can you kind of walk us through it? What is it actually saying? Because again, we listened to the minister, he was on coffee time, and the way he spin it. So can you just give us step by step, what is he saying? What is the whole objective? Now, somebody like me is very suspicious of course, Dr. Cisse and this government when it comes to the media. This whole idea that we're just doing it to help the media, I am not buying that. So, can you tell us what is this so-called proposed media accreditation is all about?
Yeah, thank you. So the long and short of it is that the minister wants the government to register anyone who wants to become a journalist to register with the government, so that essentially it's the government that approves your becoming a journalist. And then to do that in a smart way, to say there is a committee which would include GPU or the Media Commission of the Gambia, which is under GPU, to give it that semblance of its government's hands off, but then, or not entirely government, but together with an independent body, which is the GPU. All right. But then if you look at the provisions, you would come to realize how that application process, the approval of it or the disapproval of it, rests entirely with the minister. Okay. And the minister, that is Ismail Cisse, is given the impression that this is about regulation, which means there is no regulation right now. And so when you say regulation, we need to regulate, and the media can do that and harm, it sort of creates a sentimental feeling in people to say, oh yeah, but everyone needs to be regulated. The media also can cause problems, so they need to also be regulated. So he is spinning it in such a way that the uninformed and a naive-minded person would tend to say, oh, well, this makes sense. This is reasonable. All right. But there is regulation because in the first place, the Gambia Press Union is a professional body. It's a trade union which has members. So journalists come to register with it. They have accreditation, But each and every media house at the same time also gives accreditation to its members. Even those who are freelance also get accreditation from the GPU so that they have a press card indicating that they are freelance. So that aside, the Gambia Press Union has what they call the Cherno-Jalo principles, for professional and ethical reporting journalism, which, is a code of conduct. In addition to another code of conduct that GPU has, and practically all other media houses have a code of conduct. So that essentially what it is just saying is that there are standards and safeguards and rules within the media community. And this did not start today. This has been the case ever since. So in addition to what the minister is proposing, apart from trying to say the government will register journalists, will accredit journalists, also identify certain specific events or institutions where they should have accreditation. Let's say National Assembly or State House or elections or a political rally. Now, these are completely unnecessary. Right now, as we are speaking, and because I know this, I was involved with it, with other journalists, FlexLand and others. They have created a parliamentary reporters network in the Gambia. If you go to the United States where you are, White House has this thing called White House Correspondents Association. But it is not White House who has given them the badge of a journalist. They already have their journalism badge, but because they cover the State House or the White House, and because of the numbers, for many other things, White House now says, okay, these are journalists that are accredited to come and cover here. I mean, 1 million journalists are in America. They all can come and the White House press room to cover. And then the journalists there basically set up that, or regulate themselves, as an association. You will find that UN Reporters Association, you will find that, in many other jurisdictions, just as you have in the Gambia, the State House, for example, or National Assembly can say we will accredit, because every media house essentially has a parliamentary reporter, court reporter, and stuff like that. So those court reporters or State House reporters can form an association, and through which also the State House would have to consult to accredit journalists to join them. But because these are specific institutions with limited capacity and many other things, that happens there, which has been happening here and everywhere else in the world, not a problem. So the accreditation the minister is bringing has absolutely no need, but it has all the dangers around it, because ultimately what it means is, as a journalist, you can be denied to become a journalist. But two, when they also accredit you, you can also fail to re-register, to renew your registration. For example, they set a lot of qualifications or requirements. So you have to be a person in good standing is one of the requirements. Now, what is a person in good standing? So they can say, oh, Madi, you are not in good standing. You are always criticizing the government, so we are not going to register you. All right. So those elements are inside this accreditation policy that, if you know something, you read it, you really see that this is an attempt to essentially interfere with the independence, the freedom of the media, which is very dangerous, and I'm still trying to understand why and how the minister would come up with such an idea. Because we went through this experience some time ago in 2002, then Jami came with the Media Commission bill. But, that bill did not require individual journalists to register. They required media houses to register. But Dr. went further, Ismail Assistant went further, that in addition to media houses to register, individual journalists would have to register. That is unprecedented in the history of the world. I'm not sure even North Korea has something like that. So so this accreditation is not necessary. There's no reason that should justify it, and there's no harm that it is going to solve. All right, and given also the broader aspects of things, of good governance, of democracy, of human rights, the journalism has evolved to a point now we have what we even call citizen journalists, who are even doing greater job now than mainstream journalists. Look at, for example, for the People by the People show, discussing pertinent national issues and, influencing public policy, holding state institutions and everyone accountable. So according to this accreditation, it means for the People by the People show would have to register with the state and then Musajeng and Pasambajau and Sariam Marong individually have to register. I mean, I think that is a very scary situation, Musa. You know, so this is what is essentially the accreditation that they want. I mean, I would have brought the document here so that I point to you a lot of the concerns I'm raising in terms of the requirements, the process, to see how this is. And even though it is said to set up a committee that will vet these applications for registration, but when you look at the process, eventually it ends up on the table of the minister to approve. And he can deny, reject it. And, you know, when it comes to renewal also, it can be rejected on the recommendation of PURA, and the minister just rejects. And PURA is not a media organization. PURA is a public institution responsible for utilities and you know, internet services. All right. So this is the danger. And of course, I'm sure you know there's a twin instrument as well. That is the online and you know, broadcast online and you know, media and broadcasting content regulation. All right, you know, which is even more scandalous because that also directly impacts on for the people by the people show and on you individually and Pasamba and Sait Matty and myself, because we all have a following at least 5,000 people. All right, that alone qualifies that. For me to operate my Facebook page, for this Facebook page that we are using now today, we would have to register. I mean, it's unprecedented in the history of the world. So I mean, I cannot believe this.
So Sait, I mean, what's on to what Madi is saying? Are you seeing or reading it the same way, or are you slightly seeing it differently?
No, for me, I've been trying to follow the debate. You know, they are the experts when it comes to this issue. For me, you know, I think at one point I was asking whether these things have been passed or not, and if it is not passed, what is the issue again? Is it that the government is trying to, you know, influence the way the media currently operates and doing their work? Or is it, or what do the media prefer? Is it that they prefer to be self-regulated? For me, that is, I think that is the kind of ongoing debate that is existing. And so for me right now, I have not even read the whole regulation like Madi. I have not looked at that. So I'm just leaving it to the media. I've been listening to both sides to a certain extent, but I have to read that also to be able to get exactly what the issues are. But I think for me also, you know, I've mentioned one time when this whole issue started, I said for me the best way to support media is to help build their capacity, but also give them resources that they need. And those are the ways for me, I think. And of course, there's a whole background why today some of the media actors are resisting, or most of the media actors are resisting, is due to the fact of where we're coming from. And so, and last time I think I mentioned this fear of the past, and Uncle Madi said, no, that cannot be the way to characterize the whole issue. But there is also that element of where we're coming from. There's a historical element to that. And so anytime that people see you know, some sort of a regulation, people will be wary to that because they want to know, well, is this going to take away our rights, our freedoms, our responsibility? And so for me, I think that's where the conversation is. And I don't see the need to a large extent, but I'm not also government. So, you know, they have to come with a proposal, and then we see how it goes. For me, I think those are the issues. They have the right to bring proposals, and of course, society and media reject it when they feel it is going to harm their business. But of course, to regulate online media, like people with 5,000 followers. Me, I don't have followers. I have friends on my Facebook. These are people that I know. I'm not interested in influencing nobody. Everybody should be. I believe everybody should influence themselves, read information, get it, and be that. So what I share it based on my own personal opinion and how I feel. And if people feel it useful and all those things, but to come and say I have to register, I don't have time to register. It's better for me to close my Facebook and go and sit home. You know, things like that. So, I mean, I think for me, I'm still listening to it. I've read a few articles on it, and I'm still trying to understand it. But I also believe that at some point, both the media, civil society, and the state must sit around this issue. Because if we're also talking about strengthening our democracy, we need to look at issues that kind of strengthen the democracy rather than, I mean, you know, restraining the environment. So for me, I think that's where I am at this minute. I'm still following. I follow FlexDan, I follow Uncle Madi, what they say, and I also saw Barrow article, but I'm still trying to understand the whole agenda, basically.
Musa, if I may say
Musa,
something.
I was in the media, unlike you, Musa,
Mm.
and I had a card, a press card that was issued to me by New Citizen newspaper. If I were to cover anywhere, I show my press card and they know that this person is press. I did not need the government. This was during Jawara and when Jammeh came. I never needed the government to tell me that I needed to register with them so that I can cover. And you see, I am of the belief that one must not trust one's rights with any human being. Dr. Cisse is my friend. If Dr. Cisse was not in government, he would not be supporting this. In fact, he would have been one of the first people to say people should not go for it. This is meant for nothing but to control. They have a problem. And their problem is, because of with this new age of media, where for the people, by the people can pop up, Barrow must go, must pop up, and all these things are coming with information that they are uncomfortable with. They are finding a way of, regulating that. That's just what it is. We've seen, people have to be very careful. We've seen what's happening here in the United States, for example. When Trump decided to find a lackey, a sycophant, and made him the head of the FCC, what does he do? Whenever Trump has a problem with a media house, if these people, they think they should take their license, the next thing you are getting a threat from the FCC. Of course, you go to the courts, and the courts would tell him, go and do something with yourself. Musa, since the First Republic, they tried to come up with a media bill. But Jawara was clever enough not to sign it because he saw the dangers of it. As soon as Amnesty International told him what the problems were, he decided, you know what, this is not worth it. We're not going to have it. And there was one person who was in the forefront of that fight, Demba Ali Jaw. People can say whatever they want to say about DA. The reason why Gambia's credibility in terms of media, press freedom, was restored around the world was because Barrow made the right choice by appointing somebody who had the scars of fighting for that, Demba Ali Jaw. Because as long as Demba was named as Minister of Information, the international media, whether it is Reporters Without Borders, whether it is ICJ, you name them, all these media houses where, you know what, now we have somebody who really believes in this thing. So Gambia's credibility when it comes to media did not come about as an accident or because we just had a change of government. Because the people around the world saw somebody who they knew understands and would defend the right of everybody to exercise their fundamental right to freedom of expression and opinions, as enshrined whether in the Gambian Constitution or Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights or the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. So what is important is this government needs to understand that this is democracy. Musa, look at the way they in fact deal with critics. When you go to, like, Madi is vilified every single day because he has the audacity to challenge them. And I've always believed that Gambia has a great potential for the return of dictatorship because all it takes is the person that is going to lead. We have a culture of Siboru and a culture of sycophancy. They would clap for you and they would defend you even if you kill the whole country. We've seen what is happening in the United States here, where Trump has turned people, the Lindsey Grahams, now into cheerleaders of his pathetic role. So to me, this whole thing is meant for nothing but to stifle press and to control what people can and cannot say. And those that are supporting it, you'll be supporting it at your own peril. Why do I need to register with the government because I have 5,000 people following me? What kind of nonsense is that? For what? To do what? They don't even have that in North Korea. It's utter nonsense, and it's something that people conjure up sad in a meeting and say, you know what, we have to find a way of how to control them. What I advise them, Musa, is before worrying about what people say, just do the damn right thing. That's it. Just do the right thing.
I guess where it gets a little bit muddy is what is the right thing. But let me.
Now you hear it. That's a media guy talking now.
Let me add something to it.
Let me just speak to some issues.
Oh, man, we are not hearing you.
You cannot hear me?
I can hear him.
Go ahead, Madi.
Yeah. Because Sait has important points just to say. One was on the regulation issue, and and the other was probably capacity building. So by international standard, by regional standard, because in fact in 2019, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights meeting in Banjul issued a declaration called the African Commission Principles on Freedom of Expression and Access to Information as a guideline for member states to abide by in terms of press, freedom of expression, access to information. And one of the principles there is that media regulation should be self-regulation, that governments, the state parties should make sure that media regulation, they don't get into that. That is left to the media, as it is the case everywhere else in the world. All right. And so we have that here ever since, but more formalized in 2018, around 19, when the Media Commission was established, which we were all part of, which was supported and welcomed by the Justice Minister at the time, Bakambedu, but also during the tenure of the former Information Minister, Ibrahim Silla, all right, who is a journalist, that this is where we need to move. So we already have that Media Commission. It has an ethics panel to serve as sort of the judge to hear cases of media misreporting and problems with the media. The panel, I was one of the I was in the how do you call it, the pioneer panel, like the maiden panel. I was we had 3 panel members. I was on that panel with Salih Tal, a lawyer, and Amijuf Cole, a veteran journalist. And during our tenure, I mean, we've had cases were reported, by individuals, including even a senior police officer, about media reporting, which we reviewed and so on. So that is there. Now, if the Media Commission is not functioning well today, which again you would hear this minister, and this is why we need to be careful with him, because if you followed his conversation on Coffee Time with Peter Gomez, he made reference about to they've been working with GPU and the Media Commission, but at the same time came to say the Media Commission is ineffective. All right. Now, the role of the minister in this case, judging by international and regional law, and standards regarding the media, would have been to support, strengthen the Media Commission, because the Media Commission, it may be established by GPU, and of course at that time in collaboration with the government, but it's a national mechanism. So anyone interested in freedom of the media, freedom of expression, access to information, you should strengthen the Media Commission. All right. And so when they talk about capacity, this is where one would have thought the minister would give an allocation, for example. All right, which is another matter to discuss the modalities of it. But to say, look, we will subvert the Media Commission to ensure its independence, professionalism, development, efficiency as it is. So he would have supported that, but you do not do that. Rather you go and create a parallel mechanism, which effectively means you are just going to kill the Media Commission if this accreditation and the online broadcasting content policy should work. So all the more pointing to the fact that this is an attempt, as Samba said, to control, because ultimately government will determine who can be a journalist and who cannot practice as a journalist. And when we get to that area, then I guess that's the end of it. Self-censorship would come. The media community would be so weakened And I mean, I just can't imagine what a disaster that would be. I hope it never comes to pass in the Gambia. But essentially, this is it. And I must join Pasamba to give kudos to DA, Jao, and fellow colleagues at the time who fought against that media bill in 2002 severely. So I mean, this is why we are the Musa. So we are completely opposed to it. And now you talked about partnership. I mean, or I think Sait mentioned about discussion. You see, sometimes, I mean, who should engage who? All right. As the minister, as the government, you bear responsibility to direct the development, the governance of this country. And you have stakeholders like the civil society, like the media. Engage them honestly, genuinely, on time, and be willing to share. Now, the minister is not doing that. But let's say Edward Francis Small Center, we have submitted a letter directly to the minister raising issues, and they don't respond. So people are engaging, but stakeholders would have to be ready to participate. And what the practice is in the Gambia is that the government, which is the key stakeholder here, does not want to participate, doesn't want to engage. And that is a problem.
So, Madi, what do you say to the, maybe you guys are very suspicious of the doctor and where this initiative is. What do you say to the fact that, look, the media landscape has changed? Gone are days when all you have were newspapers, and I mean, they were required to register and be licensed, and radio stations, the same thing. Here we are looking at a media landscape. There's AI, there's citizen journalists all over the place. Like you said, 40 people by the people. You have people. All I need to do is have my megaphone and say whatever the hell I want to say, and I'll be reaching like millions in the Gambia. So because of the reality, should we not go back and look at the regulation itself? What say you to that?
Yeah, I say yes. The regulation is about human beings, organizations, institutions. The landscape is changing, is developing, new things are emerging. So whether it's Media Commission itself, the Media Council itself, or whether it's foreign newspapers, Citizen, Kirfatu, or QTV or JRTS, they all have their internal regulations, codes of conduct, and stuff like that. It is important to adjust to raise, to look at all of those things, to review so that they are they are fit for purpose. We have many other networks like Human Rights Journalists Association, network of young people in the media. You have network of Health Reporters Association, so that those in those areas also create their own bodies with an internal regulation mechanism. So it is not as if people are not aware of things or nothing is happening. Just recently, Flex Dan and his fellow people in the online space created the Gambia Online Media Association. So these are all positive, which provides the government with immense opportunity advantage to make sure that at the end of the day, going back to the constitution, that the government makes sure to support the development, the independence, and the professionalism of the media. That is what is in Constitution Section 207. So this is where we want the government to stand. But Musa, sometimes we also generate imaginary fears. Because I said, okay, let us look at the Gambian media landscape, online and offline.
Right.
Let us record instances of, let's say, incitement to violence. All right. Let us look at, even hate speech. Let us look at misreporting and so on. And look at where does the media stand. The National Human Rights Commission did a study last year. And the sources of, hate speech, for example, did not feature the media as number one. As I said, hardly do you see people report. Maybe one can say they are not just reporting. But, we were in the Media Council, in the ethics panel. The number of cases we've seen is limited. One can say, well, maybe many people are aware of it. But also surveying the landscape as an individual, and you can do the same, Coach can do the same, and said, Matty, what do we see the media do, the online media? I think what we see by and large is huge amount of responsibility, self-control, professionalism that is being exercised. Of course, there'll be reports that I may not agree with.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it is unprofessionalism. So, to a large extent, there's nothing alarming in the Gambia online or traditional media space to say, yeah, we need to bring regulation, and we need to be scared, worried about. No, I mean, the individuals who are doing that TikTok, that's a different matter altogether. But when it comes to the media, I see a lot of professionalism, given with the youngness, of our media from 2017 to date. I've seen young men and women, 24 years, they said they are editor-in-chief. I mean, who knows media knows that 24 years you cannot be an editor-in-chief or a producer in a radio station. But this is what we have. But even there, I see, I watch it and scan the online space, from Kerfatu to iAfrica to Block TV to Talent TV, Gambia Talents to, and so on and so forth. And I get impressed. Just take your time and look watch some of our these, online radio and television, and see the programming they do. Now, that is what needs to be supported by the ministry, by the government.
Correct.
And they are not doing anything creating, incitement in this country. And apart from all of that, finally, Musa, even if that happens, there are a lot of mechanisms to address that.
Correct.
So that it would not require a government or people to be scared or worried. We will deal with that. I mean, there will be condemnations. There will be, actions that are meant to correct those things. So this is the situation. But I agree with the premise that yes, continuously the GPU, in fact, last month or 2 months ago, they reviewed the Cherno-Jallo principles for journalism. All right, they reviewed it and we validated it, and the new form is there. This has been updated. GPU has guidelines, code of conduct on child reporting. They have guidelines on reporting about women and gender. So all of these things are there. So what we need is a minister who is interested in good governance, in democracy, in human rights, in press freedom, to come and support all these initiatives, all these mechanisms in place, but not to go and subvert all of them and then bring something that even North Korea is not contemplating about.
I wanted to ask I wanted to play the devil advocate. For us, we are very much interested. Now, I told you my role is research and academic, but we also talk about government support. I want to understand how can government support in this different process. If also government thinking like, okay, the way that we can support is first to set up the frameworks where everybody fits in. Then through that we can engage. Could that be one way, or would it be seen also, Uncle Madi, as just that people just want to be free? But of course, there are debates also that some sort of regulation needs to be in place as well, so that some of these issues, some of these fears that people have also in terms of of course, I agree. That in Gambia, generally people are like you self-censor. If you don't self-censor, people will come and do fact-checking against you. Even the media, sometimes they publish things, the population will come after them. So the consumers themselves are sometimes following up on these different issues, so which are also part of that. But I'm thinking, for me, would it not be like, is this not part of a process of institutionalizing or recognizing all of this different stuff, and perhaps a proper entry point now for government? Like, if you regulate, you put in your mouth there, then you put your resources in. Could that be seen as being a devil advocate in that way? Because I don't think that this government can at any point stop people from expressing themselves or doing what they have to do, and not even with regulation. It has to go back and forward all the time. But for me, I want to understand that within that context.
Yes, said again, regulation exists because again, all the time, let's remember, it's not as if regulation doesn't exist. Regulation exists, and government support.
But who is regulating?
The media itself, because that is what is required by international law and regional law. I just mentioned the African Commission Guidelines on Freedom of Expression. So if you go to the United States or UK or Senegal, you don't have a national institution for media regulation. no, it's an independent body created by the media. But of course, even in the media commission, it is not like they are all entirely journalists. You know, they also bring in other stakeholders, you know, so that they are able to do this job. Like I said, the media, the panel, the ethics panel that the commission, the council had or has, the primary, I mean, the first panel members, there was a lawyer there. All right, you know, because it is important that a lawyer is involved and other stakeholders. So regulation exists. But yes, I agree with your the point about how can government support. And I think first of all is political will, that we are willing to ensure that we have a civic space in this country in which the media can operate freely, openly, you know, based on professional standards, ethical standards. All right. I think that is what is now, it is that the government has to make that happen. Would that require capacity building to the media? I would say yes. Would that require, let's say, subvention to the media council to strengthen it? And would that require recognition that government recognizes? So, for example, we have this case, the Voice newspaper. They reported that President Barrow has a successor, and immediately President Barrow caused the police to arrest them, and you know they were charged with something. All right. Now, President Barrow should have known. His Minister of Information should have informed him. I mean, even though that story was perfectly in line with professional and ethical reporting standards, but even if President Barrow was aggrieved and wants to fight it, political will would have advised him, his Minister of Information, his Minister of Justice, to say there is a media council. Lodge your complaint with the media council against the Voice newspaper. Don't use the police to go and arrest them and prosecute them. All right? But that is it. So that political will is what I'm talking about. That government recognizes, you know, this matter as it is, so that they give it the support and restrain themselves from doing actions that in the end you are going to create self-censorship. Because nowadays, I don't know how the Voice would report about the president, you know, having gone through that experience. All right. So regulation exists, and it is not something strange or unprecedented or new or anything like that. It has been in the Gambia. It has only improved, particularly after 2017. All right. But in the rest of the world, in many other places, best practices are there. All right. The instruments are there. The principles, declarations are there by the AU. I mean, by the UN, by the European, you know, I mean, Convention on Human Rights, the EU. I mean, and so on and so forth, by individual governments around the world. So what we need to do, or what needs to happen, is the Gambian government to have the political will to say, we accept, and which they say, indeed, we accept, we agree, we recognize freedom of the media and freedom of expression. But then take steps that are going to enhance that and not undermine it. So the regulations are there, but if you say we should improve it, as Musa is saying, yes, we need to improve. Yes.
No, to me, Madi, sir, I have a problem with the improvement itself. There is no law that does not exist in the Gambia.
Yeah.
And there is a slippery slope here. And Dr. Cisse should know this very well. Do you remember when he gave an interview and talked about the security challenges that we had in the country? And they just went and picked him up for having an interview in a newspaper. Took him to jail. He was detained. And they say, but we asked him to leave. He said he was not leaving. The mere fact that you just picked him up for uttering something in an interview that is so inconsequential tells you the problem. The Voice newspaper issue is another thing, where the president, because of he has the powers, decided that because somebody said, I have a successor to succeed me in NPP, I am going to order the IGP to arrest these people and detain them. Those are the problems that you have. And every day, similar things are being said against other people who are not President Barrow. And nothing happens to them.
Of course.
And let's also remember what happened to Jorbateh. Do you remember Jorbateh? Who was arrested under Jammeh, sent to jail because of they used Skype to cover a political rally that the UDP had. So what they are doing, they can play here. I see you, Boy Fatty, and all this craziness that they are going about in their comments. The attempt is not to strengthen democracy, but to weaken it. And any Gambian who plays the fool and looks the other way would live to regret it. And let's remember one thing. Today, you are in power. Tomorrow, you may very well be out of power. There is a reason why Fabakary Tomanjata was also called for questioning because what he said in the newspaper. Do you remember that? There was a time he thought nothing would ever happen to him until he started Siboring Barrow, and now he is this thing.
Mama
Kande also. But this government has had a habit of arresting people for their utterances, political utterances. It's the resistance that they get from the people and sometimes the international community. That's why sometimes they move back, and then you'll have hear a minister tell you, well, when the media called me and these things, so I called the police and say, let's release. Why do we always have to beg for somebody to be released? It's utter nonsense. We fought this during Jawara, we fought this during Jammeh, and we should definitely fight it during Barrow, because if Barrow and his people, Cabal, have their ways, nobody would utter a word against them, because they've always demonstrated that.
Don't you think that there is an insinuation I would call false equivalence? Because we all know where we came from, but there was absolutely zero freedom of the press. No one is going to question that looking at the situation, there is indeed freedom of the press in the Gambia at this juncture as it is. Now, what do you say to Madi? There were things that Doctor said at that coffee time interview when he said that the registration of individuals is voluntary. And he also did say that you said there was no engagement or reaching out. He's basically saying they reached out to the GPU, to the Media Commission, but they are part of the panel. So this is not the government just imposing its will. It's reaching out to these the Media Commission and the GPU, and together they are going to look at this this whole accreditation or media bill, if you want to call it that. Or is he just spinning?
No, he was just spinning. I mean, not even spinning. He was just giving false information. That did not happen. All right. The GPU was as surprised as myself when we saw the accreditation and the policy released. All right. You know, and of course, the GPU Secretary General, in fact, was on coffee time last week and you know, addressed those issues that they were not consulted. Yes, they go to the ministry, it's the allied ministry, but you know, it's not a conversation you've had to the point of even agreeing. And we've seen the GPU, in fact, issue a very strong position paper against this this accreditation and the policy. So similar thing with the Media Commission as well. He did not consult them. They did not write this document. They did not see this document in the drafting of it, or and so on. So the idea that accreditation is voluntary, it makes no sense, and it just shows you the sort of the scheme that has been played. That they will send us this, but this was voluntary. Why would you go and register voluntarily for what, really? So these are all schemes, false narratives, and you know, the spinning that this minister is doing in order to sleepwalk us into a very serious, dangerous trap. And then we realize that in the end, we cannot participate in For the People, by the People show. All right, because they are not registered. Madi cannot run his Facebook page and said Matty, you know, CRPD cannot run his Facebook page, and so on and so forth. They cannot. You report the Afrobarometer survey that said Matty released now and again about 70% of Gambians want to leave the Gambia. Next, I go to register. They said you are not in good standing. We are not going to renew your registration. So, it's a very dangerous thing that they are doing. And all we got to do really is resist. We just have to resist, because probably this is also the history of society. The state individuals in power, in position of authority, would come with anti-democratic, all of these kind of things, and we just have to resist. And for us, we are very well positioned to resist. I mean, to resist.
So, Madi, you said that you don't have a problem with regulation, and you did say when Matty basically pointed out who is regulating at this juncture. You said obviously there's a media commission and then there's the GPU. I mean, looking at the media commission or GPU for that matter, how are they really regulating the media landscape? Can you give us a scenario where somebody like Musa Jeng or Pasamba Jao, because he's always making inflammatory statements all over the place, calling himself a journalist, and then can you at least say that this was what the GPU did, or this is what the media commission did? Basically, the government can say, you know what, this regulation is all theory. These people are not regulating anything. They're not putting faith to it. It's impotent. And for us to regulate this, we have to do it a different way. What do you say to that? Are they regulating anything?
But also, Musa, maybe to add also, when Madi was talking, I went into the Information Communication Act, because that's also where the minister, I assume, drive his power for regulation. And there's a chapter on regulatory provision for broadcasting content, function of the Secretary of State and the authority. The minister in charge of broadcasting content may, in consultation with the authority, make regulation generally with the respect. So for me, I want to understand whether the problem is regulation or the content of the regulation that we also have. You know, I'm trying to understand this issue also, you know, because if already the act gives the minister that power to regulate, now the minister is regulated. Now, what do we have problem with? Is it the content of what he's trying to regulate, or also is it the, you know, the general provision of that particular act for me as well?
Yeah. So Said, I'm glad you brought this issue. To Musa's question, laws generally would have, you know, a regulation. Okay, so the Information Communications Act, like any other law, would state that the minister would draft or propose or create regulations, because regulations are the working steps for the implementation of the law to set out how to implement this. Now, you know, the Information Communications Act is a controversial law that we have campaigned against over the years to change. And for your information, they have created a new bill, Communication Bill 2025. So next week you'll see opposition paper on it, and it's more terrible than the current Information Communication Act. Okay, so one is process and two is content. All right. So even though the act says the minister can make regulation, you know, in consultation with Pura, all right, and this thing, I think it came out of Pura, of course. But Pura cannot sit unilaterally, or the minister, or both of them, to go and therefore create a regulation for journalism, for broadcast media, without paying attention to the Constitution and the regional and international law that the government is a signatory to, which is the case here. They have completely ignored that. And number two, in terms of process also, how do they engage with the stakeholders? Let's say the Gambia Press Union, stakeholders, the Bar Association, stakeholders like, you know, the civil society in general, including CRPD. So all of those are factors that are there in terms of process. Then you come to content. How do you do this regulation? What are the items, elements in this regulation? So that what we see now, accredited journalists, registration of journalists, that is completely against international law and standards. So the process, the issue therefore said is one process, two content. All right. So that when you link it to the issue that Musa is raising, all right, the media council, like any other sort of body like that, at least as I told you, I'm on the first panel constituted under the media council. So the media council is a multi-stakeholder body that looks at many things about media development, professionalism, independence, the overall legal institutional framework as it is conducive to the media. One, but in the there is a separate body. That is a technical body called the ethics panel, where now individuals that have issues with the media reporting, all right, let's say the issue with Barrow and the Voice newspaper. You now report to the ethics panel. That is the disciplinary body now. They will hear your case. If you bring it there, they analyze it based on all of the standards, the principles, the rules, the laws, everything, and the impact, the damage and so on, and they reach a decision. And they have a number of sanctions they can impose on a media house, from retraction to apology, and even if need be, advise the complainant to take the matter to court. So many things. So that is there. And I don't know whether it would be appropriate for me to point to any case, that we've had when I was in the ethics panel. But we've received few cases and we took decisions. And as I told you, one of them came from a very top public official, police officer for that matter, complained about a report in one of the radio stations. And when we reviewed everything, we realized that, yes, the report is very, freedom of expression. If you look at Article 19, what it says, freedom of expression. All right. Certain expression can be unpleasant, but they are not illegal. All right. So if a media reports about President Barrow is corrupt, he may not like that word, but that is not an illegal. That's protected speech. That is not illegal in terms of media reporting. All right. Especially in the case of that succession, the media talk to members of NPP, it talk to other sources. And so you look at all the elements, so you say, okay, you may not like this report, but this report is not illegal or it's not damaging, so that it has to be punished and so on. So this is the process, Musa. Which I think if the government supported the process, which we could have had a very strong media council, and a strong ethics panel. It will have been popularized so that more governments are aware of it, because probably somebody is very aggrieved by some report, in the media, and people would have gone to the media ethics panel, and that would help to further professionalize, standardize, and strengthen the media reporting in this country, and which is a great opportunity the government should not waste. So this is what we are saying, honestly.
And,
I don't know whether that answers.
Yeah, and Madi, yes, you have answered the question. Those who may think that you've not answered it is because they didn't hear what they wanted to hear. The fact of the matter here is the day that you shut up is the day that we'll lose that country. Keep talking. But Musa, talking about, Pasamba, talking that he's a journalist, inflammatory statement or whatever. Whatever I say is protected speech. Anybody who cannot take criticism from the people and want to lead us, you are in the wrong business. And going around and trying to over-regulate, is not going to help our democratic process. We even have the false information thing. People can still be charged for that. You have all these laws, these obnoxious laws that we had serious problem. You have the sedition law that we had serious issues with. Barrow came and they decided we are going to keep them because it favors the government. So, like I said, we do not lack the legal framework to charge people when they do something that is outside of the perimeters of the established laws. So, the fact of the matter here is we cannot continue to always trying to over-regulate, Musa. When you do that, you undermine democracy. They are doing it out of fear, and from what I've seen, you listen to what you might call it, all the things on the Gambia. In the Gambia, you watch the radios, you listen to them. For the most part, more than any other place, it's always a very responsible conversation.
I think so too.
We are, in fact, a lot more responsible in our political discourse than Senegal, our neighbors.
A million times.
It's not. So this is a fact. So why are we so worrying about this? Maybe before they start worrying about regulations and all these things, maybe they can put their energy in fighting corruption, which is killing our people. I think the energy that African governments, particularly our government, is putting in trying to police who speaks and what they're saying, if that energy was put in fighting corruption, we would be talking about a different country today. But that is not to their interest. Because if they do that, they will be regulating themselves. So they would rather go and look at somebody who is reporting the news. I saw somebody today attacking Kex. Oh, that's false. And all Kex did was reported what was said in court. That's all he did. It wasn't I said or Musa said, no, this was the court proceedings. These are my reportings, verbatim, what they said, that's what I'm reporting. Somebody wanted to attack him. And that's the thing. Our discourse has been very responsible. Our newspapers are very in fact, our newspapers have become nothing but a regurgitation of press releases. If you read it for the most part. Very if they have their way, Mustafa Dabo, who uses his mind to investigate, would not exist. Malagan would not exist because they would rather for people to be dumbed down to just clapping for a president or a politician. And in fact, Musa, if you talk about speech, that is dangerous. It comes mostly from politicians in power. Listen to what Ahmad Ba speak or Barrow sometimes when he's very sutange and hear what they say. And juxtapose that with what Madi would say or anybody else that they have out there. It's utter nonsense. And it needs to be fought. It needs to stop. These people, Nyam Boy Fatih and all these Barrow supporters, all this nonsense. If listen, you either believe in democracy or you don't. That's it.
And Musa, to add to Pa Samba's point, I mean, if it is false information, I think what is evident is that the state in the Gambia is the chief perpetrator of false information. The minister most fact-checked in the Gambia is Dr. Ismail Sise. You know, where almost all his fact-checked issues are being found to be false. Even yesterday or 2 days ago, Malagan fact-checked President's Sona address and found misleading false information in it.
Of course.
Now, they are not dealing with that. And you create this narrative about false information in the Gambia. And so you want to use that to close voices, to silence, because you just want to undermine transparency, accountability, to shield corruption and corrupt officials. And particularly, you know, Musa, this is very significant, the timing, because we are in an election year.
Right.
So what is the point? Is it that you want to control voices, you know, which would engage in analysis, in information gathering, in information dissemination, in amplifying voices of, you know, various stakeholders to limit that for election purposes? So we will resist that. Yes.
Resisting it is according to Madi, you did say, just a segue to, you know, it's an election year. I mean,
the state of the nation.
Huh?
I said the state of the nation.
State of the nation, the pulse. I mean, you're in the inside. The Pasambajaus of this world, they've already called the elections. They said Barrow has already won. Some of us are a little bit more cautious. So what's the what's the pulse? But Pasamba take this as a badge of honor. But let me tell you though, there's absolutely nothing genius about making that kind of prediction.
But I'm not taking it as a badge of honor though. That's the problem that you make. All I'm telling you, boy, in the absence of a comprehensive coalition, Barrow is going to win. That's just what I said.
Yeah, December 6th, Katarayu and said, "Woho nalen ko." That kind of thing.
Well, so, Musa, you know, Sait is here. I think we should all be waiting on Sait on that because they deal with
he's the expert on election outcomes. So
yes, so and it's good that and it's good that, you know, in addition to Sait, now we are seeing a good development in the Gambia. The polls, you know, organizations are emerging, doing separate and, you know, all the others. So, you know, so I may not be best qualified to say that, but I completely agree with the premise that Pasamba just said, coalition and no coalition. I mean, what could happen? But also, I think as somebody who is here and who knows, I think I know politics and governance, I think one would say the odds are both in favor and against Barrow. The fact that, you know, because the purpose of government.
It's Barrow. But never sound like double talk there.
Yeah, because the thing is, when I look around, I mean, the engagements I've seen, there is huge frustration in the country. People are, frustrated, cost of living and poor services and so many things that I can say hardly do I see someone who tell me, oh, no, I'm going to vote for Barrow. All right. So I understand that. But at the same time, I think Barrow as a government, and which is the purpose of government, to provide goods and services, the fact that he's building roads, regardless of are these loans or was that corruption or bribery, are they quality and so on. But the fact that he is providing those roads and electricity, and of course doing the donations of this and that in our communities and so on. We've also had people speak from those communities, who've received this rural electrification, about what it means for them and so on. So that when you look at that factor, you say, well, these things also are in favor of Barrow. And of course, if there is no coalition within the opposition, the odds for him, even go higher. All right. So it's a rather fluid situation. I think they said one British Prime Minister once said 1 week or 1 day in politics is a long time. All right, and we have many months to the election. So many things can happen. We don't know what the opposition would come up with in terms of a coalition. And of course, we as civil society are here to raise all the issues, that even if you are building electricity and roads, we will also raise all the governance and legal policy issues in terms of many things. I mean, that you see around. So, but as I said, Sait and people of his category would eventually tell us in more detail what we should expect. Because they run the surveys,
So Sait, yes, Madi.
He's pushing the thing to me. I mean, like for me, like I'm still a student of Gambian politics, and I think it's always interesting for me. You see, in our surveys, I'll give you this context. You see, in our surveys, people will complain about service delivery, will complain about corruption, will complain about many things. But when it comes to election, you ask them who they're going to vote for, they will tell you most likely they'll vote for Barrow. Most of the past surveys, you see, we see that, of course, in terms of. So I'm questioning whether these issues that we are concerned about, this issue around corruption, these issues of good governance, is that exactly what the the ordinary voters are concerned about? The ordinary voters are concerned about waking up, being able to access services, even if they are far from them. Like that's where the road connection comes in. Communities, I've seen communities where they're talking about the fact that, since they were born, they've never enjoyed electricity, and now they see electricity. And there's this one serial guy that said, even if he's going to the farm, he will go with cold water. For other people, it's about the cost of cold water, glass. There are different issues that make people to vote, and some are also for the peace. I remember in the last 2021 election, as civil society, we were discussing about reason why people should vote, why you should vote, and then we were talking about more on, you need to about governance, service delivery, all these different issues. And the older generation will call us and say, hey, if you are talking about service delivery, if you're talking about all these things, and some people are not typically dependent on government. Government is not like creating all the jobs for people. Mostly, like we're talking about the diaspora, 34% of GDP comes from the diaspora. So people at their household level, they have other means of survival. So it's not only dependent on government and all those different. So for me, I think in terms of understanding voting behavior, all these things have to be factored. And people also in certain communities, it's a different ballgame. Like as long as they are peaceful, things are okay for them. I mean, they don't really, it doesn't matter. And they continue to vote for one person. But so far, so good. I mean, most of the surveys, it points to the likely winner to be Barrow. But then, of course, if you compare it to what Uncle Madi was saying in terms of the service delivery, governance, corruption, people talk about those things, but then still they will vote for the same guy. So for me, I'm trying to understand. I mean, and I remember one of the Afrobarometers in 2021, when we were doing the donor briefing, one donor asked me, but look at this issue, like what are the factors that influence the way people vote in the country? And so if we want to pick it to what Americans, based on what Americans vote on, you know, and I think if you do political science, they tell you in America it's mostly the economy that determines, you know, voting behavior mostly in terms of this question, whether the economy is stupid or something, those kind of questions. But in Gambia, it's a totally different ball game. And so far, so good. I cannot put my finger to exactly what is that one particular thing that drives people. But if you compare Barrow to Jammeh, you see that the way the diaspora, for instance, framed Jammeh, everybody knew it was human rights violation. Nobody had peace and everything else, even though he was trying to mask all of those things, but eventually it got exposed. So it also required time and all those different stuff for people to be able to vote. But of course, opposition unity is also one factor. I think that can, you know, help, because people already understand that here is simple first past the post system. So if there's a coalition, there's a high likelihood that people might align with that. But also for me, I think there's another factor, which people want to be part of a winning camp in Gambia. Yeah, like they want to be in a winning camp, and if they see that this is likely to win, for me, I think that they're gonna be there. But for me, I mean, it's very difficult to predict the way Gambians are likely to vote. But I know there are certain factors that will influence certain people. The issue of term limit, and for urban voters and rural voters, we need to also look at what are the issues that matter to them. For rural communities now, they are getting access to roads, they are getting electricity, and base government currently they're talking about 90% coverage. And last time, I think our last Afrobarometer, we, you know, which was 2024, it was about 72%. It was very similar to what government, because we track those things as well. We track what government is saying in terms of those structural issues. And so and of course, in political behavior, there's also what we call the mandate, where people will also look at what, you know, in these 5 years, what you have delivered. You know, and based on your delivery rate, people are likely to vote on that. And you cannot remove these roads, you cannot remove electricity. And these are things that matter to some of the people. It's not about corruption. It's not about good governance, all those things. You know, and unfortunately, these are the different layers, if I may call it that, of Gambians and voters that exist. And of course, all of those things, they have priorities. And some people is based on what they are, the head of the household tell them to vote, and they vote. You know, so for me, is for a politician, opposition that wants to win has to aggregate all of this and then have a targeted way of doing their campaign. Maybe that could help.
I don't think Musa wanted to hear your analysis. The way that it is, you know, he really felt deflated. But Musa, you deal with Gambians on the ground. But here is the question that I want to ask, though. Barrow gave a speech, the SONA, the State of the Nation's address. Said, I know when I spoke to you, you had already, chances are you've already read it. Madi, I know you are to this thing.
I've read it now,
What is the real state of the nation? First, my only problem about this State of the Nations, and I've said this forever, is the same format they've been writing it since 1965. Better. They just go and, you know, it's just like the Ministry of Health. No, it's like, I don't know. But what do you think is the state of the nation? You're living it, both of you. I know Sait is upclass. He is capitalist, no socialist.
Sait is part of the elite.
And Barrow doesn't want you guys to be president because you guys.
No, me, I'm a foot soldier. Elite, what is elite? I don't understand elite. What is elite? There's no elite.
You guys are the educated ones or the ones from Fajar and Pipeline. So, but anyway,
me, I'm from Fast Chaco.
Baru ñun fana lañ ko jom bombe
fana ko jom bombe ñun mom borom tuba fe nokki
I'm even water down. Me, I'm in from Boraba, so you got to know. Very far from Pajara, you know.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm very, yes, Madi, you can come in. No, I'm very much interested in this LI debate actually, and I listened to Sonko the other time. He was talking about this. I mean, I think it's also political framing, you know, and it's political framing, and politicians like to frame issues. And but in Gambia now, I mean, of course, you know, we are bringing this whole idea of class system into our body politics. But if you look at Gambia, everybody, you know, people move from poverty. It's people growing up, like for instance, in my family, I'm the first that have a university education. Of course, my life will be different from that of my parents. That is more is logical, and my kids I am hoping their life will be better off than mine as well. So it's also the growth of the development that has also come in. But just to talk about elites, but elites can be economic elites, it can be political elites, education, and all of those things. And sometimes when you just use one group to determine that, becomes problematic. But in terms of the state of the nation, for me, the state of the nation, I always look at things of course, we can say that it is like almost the same format. They have to report on that, but it is what the Constitution for me also asks them to do in terms of reporting on the policies, what they have done, and all those and all of that. But also, government is able to, and for me, the way I measure government is what they say they're going to deliver, and that is based on the National Development Plan. Because if they go to National Assembly, they have to report on those issues, and that's what I see. That this format has to be like that. In that way, because they have to talk about those issues, their challenges, and also prospects in terms of that. Governance sometimes is very boring, and that's why they have to come and report on, okay, we build this number of hospitals, we do those kind of stuff, and it's for us to look at those issues. But I think if you talk to people in terms of what our surveys are also showing in terms of perception, as part of the perhaps as some of those issues that can count as part of the state of the nation, people talk about the issue of cost of living. And when I read the statement, I also saw that is the president acknowledged that is cost of living, or that's how we. But people will want to see like 5 minutes or 10 minutes spent on talking about the cost of living, how you're going to address that. But what I saw in the statement is just like, oh, we acknowledge cost of living, that is not easy due to this and that, and so therefore we are doing 1 or 2, 3. That's why we are investing in that. But these are issues that matter to the people. So I will say that it's important, and it's part of the reporting process. Like you are talking about economic growth, I don't care about GDP and all those different stuff. For me, what I care about is my pocket. Whether there is money in my pocket to buy a bag of rice, to buy those sort of things. So to the everyday Gambians, those are the issues that matter. At the policy level, yes, you can talk about in terms of the output, in terms of what you have been able to do. And I think also I saw some of the criticism saying that it has to be more inspiring and all those different stuff. But by and large, of course, it's more of the reporting, and there are other issues, the issue of insecurity, issue of burglary, because those are also some of the things, the theft. People feel like their properties have been stolen. So they have more like more present everyday issues rather than the top issues that government and politicians talk about. So how do they bring the state of nation to capture the views, the aspirations, or the everyday conversations that the people are talking about? Those are also things that are important. Of course, the government is expected to deliver services, and I also expect that when they deliver those services, they have to talk about the services that they deliver. You cannot remove that from them. Yeah, so in a nutshell, for me, I think this is my initial reaction until, yeah.
I guess I'll put it back to Pasamba. I guess you didn't like what Sait just said.
No, I don't have a problem with the thing is my view. He has a different view. What I'm saying here is we've seen like the state, the US here, when it is delivered, it's more interactive, and I think maybe what we also need to develop is for the opposition to also have somebody who would deliver a response to that thing. So that's what I'm saying.
Interactive though, there's nothing interactive about Trump.
Well, with Trump,
but we are in Gambia, bro. You compare.
No. You're Trump. Let me tell you something. Adama Barrow is 1 million times, and I hear them saying this, and Boy Father is hearing it. Adama Barrow is 1 million times a better president than Trump. It's not even close.
Oh yes. So even Uncle Madi will agree with that now.
I don't know about.
We will take that to the UTG debate society.
No,
I'm sorry, we'll take that to the UTG debate society.
No, we'll agree on that.
Yeah, we'll agree on that. I mean, I don't know, Coach, who is this boy Fatty? I hear you reference him all the time.
No, please forget him. He's one of Barrow's lackeys. Just ignore him.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with him. Anyway, but I mean, I think again, I tend to agree with Musa how interactive is Trump's State of the Nation. I mean, probably not even Trump, but American president's State of the Nation address. I mean, I think it's more or less like the Gambia. The president just comes and speak to this parliament or Congress, and try to present themselves as doing well and everything is great and so on. With some vision. At least American presidents give a lot more visionary kind of inspiring statements, as it's said than Barrow or Jame before him. But you see, we have to go to the Constitution, and the Constitution says the president will come and address the Parliament. First, he said on the condition of the Gambia, all right, and then the policies and the administration. And so I think the president or the government is rather missing the point, or they're just not willing to be honest with Gambians.
So they just
yeah, I mean, because the thing is, as Sait was saying, you have all these policies and so on. Let's say Access to Information Act. That is a policy. You can say we created the Access to Information Act, we promulgated it, we have appointed a commission, Access to Information Commission, and probably even appointed designated information officers as required by the Act, if you know that has not been done. But talk about outcomes. So not just the output. At the end of the day, is this law working? Are public institutions responding to it, complying with it? All right. And that is just at the policy level. But what about orders that go down to services, to affecting the lives of the people? Yes, you can talk about see investments in education, in agriculture, in infrastructure. All right. So you list all of those things. But at the end of the day, how has this changed the life of Gambians? What is the lived realities, the lived conditions of Gambians? So somebody in FAS, is excited that we have electricity now. But yesterday I was telling somebody, I said, yes, indeed, it's important, and to note it. But it doesn't mean because they open electricity reached that community, therefore your health condition, your education condition, economic opportunities in terms of healthcare, in terms of transportation, everything. I mean, even if you can take cold water to the farm, therefore your life will change immediately. Bearing in mind that Janyambure had electricity since the days of colonialism. Banjul had electricity since the days of colonialism. But has it brought prosperity, to the people of Banjul, Sarakunda and many other places in the Gambia? Because electricity, as one of the public services, has been increasing in this country since the First Republic, and it will continue to increase. But it doesn't still mean, therefore, majority of Gambians are out of poverty, of deprivation, of frustration. You've seen investments in areas that you can say are youth-related. But look at the back way, the way Gambians are living to go through the back way. So I think the president needs a conversation to acknowledge that, yes, we may put in a right policy, a right law, but the challenge continuously has been the efficiency of our institutions, the efficiency, quality of service delivery, public goods and services, access, affordability of public goods and service by our people, so that until now, the transformation of our people, the conditions, the living conditions of our people to be able to access opportunity, to be able to get out of poverty, has been a challenge. Until now, more than 50% of Gambians live, on less than $2 a day. And that is just conservative figure, Gambia government and World Bank figures. But when you really look at it, if you live in this country, indeed, far more Gambians really are in poverty. All right. So I think the state of the nation, sometimes I feel maybe there's no point, because it is just like a rally that the president would do in Salekenya or Bundung or Basse. It's just that now he's saying it inside the parliament. And we're going to spend all the resources, big fanfare and everything else, for us to hear the same narrative that he would have said, in his country for all the time. But to help himself, I think to help himself, to help the country, really, I think the conversation should be more mature, should be more relevant, should be more honest. That, unless they are not informing him well, but then, as Cole said, it's the same format. The State of the Nation is coming, every institution send a paragraph or two about what you are doing in your institution. And they all send that, and then you collate them into one big document, and the president comes and read. I think it is more than that. Probably even the State of the Nation address should not even be written. It should just be a conversation. For the president to acknowledge the lived conditions of the people, despite the institutions, the services, the investments that are being done. Because the conditions in this country are not telling well. They are very, very severe. And so that's my take on it. But also to agree that our opposition need to play their role more effectively. Instead of the nation address was made, I have not seen yet any opposition leader make a response or party give their state of the nation. All right. And I think, not just political power, even civil society, we need to speak to this. What is the state of the nation? All right.
Yeah.
I have not seen that. And probably that would be helpful. Because there got to be accountability. And the president just cannot come and tell us a story, and then we all go. And finally, maybe also the parliament, and which is a matter I have raised with many parliamentarians over the years. I hope they will call the president back in the house, not to allow him to send his vice president, but the president himself to come back and have a conversation, on his address with the parliamentarians, so that they can raise, the pertinent questions that they've been raising with his ministers over the past year. Now he, as the principal, needs to come face to face, because the Gambia is governed by the president and the parliamentarians.
But doesn't
parliament?
Doesn't that kind of violate this separation of powers, that somehow the president has to come there and to be questioned by the legislative branch?
No, but that's not, because if the ministers, it's not separation. The ministers are part of the executive. They go there to answer. So he's the head of the executive. No, you ask a blanket question, so I'm just answering it.
Yeah. So, Musa, the idea of separation of powers is that one, body organ cannot control and direct the other organ. But these organs, they're running.
He said they should force him to come, and
I'm not sure I use the word force, but no, it's not force. If I use that, that's not appropriate. It's not force, but it's in the Constitution. If you go to 77(2), you will see that the Constitution says the National Assembly can call the president to come to the floor of the Parliament to talk about matters of national interest or anything they consider to be, important. So the Constitution already provides that. And I think, apart from the Constitution, for best practice in good governance,
right,
the two bodies that run this country is the executive and the legislature. This is why even in lawmaking, the Parliament passes and the president signs and assents to it. It becomes law. Every sitting parliamentarians, they bring bills. The Parliament, ministers bring bills. The Parliament reviews and they pass or not pass. The budget comes from the executive, they bring it to the Parliament, the ministers come, question time to be questioned. So that is the nature of our governance. And so the principals, here, the president and the parliamentarians, there should be a time when they should sit face to face,
right,
and have a conversation about the situation of this country. Because the president is the king. The king of England does not go to the House of Commons to explain himself or to be questioned. We can understand that it's a kingdom. But we are a republic.
I don't see it in the US where the president would come.
And the president. Yeah, I'm missing your words here.
It looks like the best practices that I see, whether you're talking about England or maybe even here in the US, is basically the Secretary of State that would be called to answer questions.
But our Constitution.
But even my question is, in our Constitution, does it say the president in person, or was it basically referring to the executive branch?
No, the president, and he may say he can send the vice president to represent him. But what this is what I believe, Madi, man, to me, may be the best practice. I am longing for a day when this State of the Nation's address would be a president who would give few remarks and said, you know what, we're going to have a conversation. You guys are here to represent your constituents. I'm here to answer your questions.
Yeah.
And let the
Very well.
parliamentarians fire. He was there with his cabinet. If it is something that he cannot answer, he can summon a cabinet member to answer it. So and when I say interactive in the United States, is that where after the State of the Union, they send their surrogates, mostly from from the government, to different media houses to further talk about the speech itself, so that it becomes a conversational thing.
Yeah. I mean, but that's
So that's what I'm saying. In Parliament, in UK is different, because UK they have this parliamentary system where the Prime Minister stands, and you have the stupid lady, that woman who believes that Britain should not have voted for that thing about slavery. But Madi, there was something that happened. I don't like Giba. I don't know him because I believe he's a Holocaust denier. Those Jammeh people. There was something he said, and everybody is on his throat saying that he was disrupting. He was not disrupting the parliament. The people who were disrupting the parliament were people who were doing something against the standing orders.
Yeah.
Because the standing orders are very clear. And I remember Halifa Saleh raising the same thing in 2017. They have standing orders that you cannot clap in parliament, whether it is President Barrow that is speaking or King Charles that is speaking.
Right.
So they were clapping, and he raised a point of order based on the standing orders that no one should be clapping. You use your tag to hit those the thing. That's what they do. So if there was any disruption, it was not Jiba. It was members of the NPP who wanted to turn this whole thing into a charade again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jiba was absolutely right. I mean, I'm not a fan of Jiba, but I mean, the standing orders are very clear. The parliamentary practice is very clear, at least from the that British tradition that you don't clap. Which we have adopted is a different matter when it comes to the United States, because in the US, in the Congress State of the Nation or Union address, there's sort of clapping and standing ovations and so on. But in our case, we have adopted the British style. So, and if it happens, what is responsible is for a member of parliament to raise the matter. And that is what Jiba did. And nobody should have a problem with that. We should commend him for insisting on the rules. But I mean, I completely agree with you. But I think, we are coming from a British tradition, and which is a monarchical tradition, and also fits very well with our feudalist, patriarchal system. That capitalist system that has taken, root in our governance system, so that the president feels. Just like in the US, you can only go to parliament only once and address them and go home. But I think if you understand the nature of a republic, the very essence of a republic, the president is not a monarch. All right, the president is a constituency responsibility. Just that parliamentarians are constituencies, representing constituencies.
Right.
But the president is representing the whole country, which is one constituency.
Right.
So the difference is a whole constituency and part of the constituency. So, but these two people, they run the country, and that is what's in the constitution. So for me, Barrow would have set an unprecedented and a very, great precedent if he would just say, look, I'm going to the parliament, all right, State of the Nation, let's have a conversation. We are running this country for 1 year. You as parliamentarians, my ministers are coming here. We are raising issues. Let's have a conversation. What is the conditions of your people? Are our policies, my laws, my institutions, are they performing? Are they delivering as they should? What are the problems? How do you think we can solve this? And as a president, I'm committed to bring about those changes so that we have a better Gambia. I think if Barrow takes that approach, I'm sure all of us will jump on his wagon, and then we said, yes, now we have a leader. But the way I see the State of the Nation address is done, it's more of choreographed. It's more of self-praise and self-commendation. Is to ignore the facts, the realities. Is to just touch on the surfaces of things, of issues, whilst all of the problems in the country continue.
But
I don't know.
But Madi, just like you, I wasn't really enthusiastic about even listening to that SONA address, because for me, it's just the same old, same old. The delivery is very poor. the president has been spoon-fed, even the way he relates it. He doesn't do it effectively. So for me, it's more of that. Now, would I blame him to come out there and say, look, this is what I have done in terms of electricity. This is what I have done in road construction. This is what I have done in terms of health. I mean, any politician would do would do the same thing. I mean, whether it's America or anywhere else for that matter. You know, this is the contract that I have with the country, and this is what they're not going to sit there and talk about, you know, some of the things that you're talking about. I mean, yeah, now they can in generalities just talk about the challenges and things of that nature. Now, make it interactive. Do I believe he's the kind of politician that can do that? No, I don't think. I mean, that's not the way this guy is wired. For him to really go there and believe in his policies and be able to take questions from the parliamentarians and have a conversation and say, look, this is what my government, this is what the policy is, this is what we've been working on, this is the reason why, these are the challenges, this is the reason why we took these loans. I don't think he's that kind of a leader, unfortunately. Will I blame him for him to come there and talk about his achievement? Of course he's going to do that. The whole thing is a political thing. It's a you can't take the politics out of it. So, again.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, you know, sometimes you wonder whether it's even any point to say it. But then you have Mr. Barrow, all right, with all his limitations, and okay. But then you have a whole team around him, technocrats, you know, I guess there should be technocrats, elites, the very elites he's talking about. You know, they are all around him, who know what is governance, who know what is in the constitution, who know what is leadership, and who know and understand the situation in this country. And I would say, as citizens, really, if I am an advisor to the president, a lot of the things that I tell the president, no, if you want to be Gambian, act as a Gambian, serve the Gambia in the best interest of the Gambia. I don't think this is the approach you should take. All right, but it appears the handlers of Barrow, his technocrats, the elites around him, all want to maintain a certain status quo. They want to maintain a certain picture, so they, you know, treat, you know, the state and the governance of this country in this state jacket attitude, manner, you know, that we have been, you know, doing for the past 60 years, and it has not produced the results, you know, that we are supposed to have. By this time, 60 years later, Gambia should not have been at this level in anything. We should have been far, far higher. You know, and the potential is here, the resources are here, the knowledge is here, the skills are here. It is just a matter of willingness that you and me, as citizens, as technocrats, as the elite, as the, you know, whatever you call it, to say, look, this is the kind of Gambia we want, and we can deliver it. But to continue this same practice of set up the nation with the pomp and pageantry and you know, the fanfare, and when you and I know, and Barrow himself know, this is all a farce. I mean, I think we should be.
Not everything is a farce, though. Not everything is a farce. Like I was telling Pasama, I was talking to somebody, and they're saying, "Huh, Barrow they hardly be up tal na go from me." Ice block yang if ne kubaga ndox mu sedd da nga nan ndox mu sedd. So if you're telling those people that the whole thing is a farce, like, are you freaking kidding me? Small villages that lampa sunko gise Banjul le ñew. That is the reality. Yeah. And now they have electricity right there.
Let us not over exaggerate that.
No. This all of that. Again,
no.
That know me. Here they have a brand new ferry. It can take you to Numi in 10-15 minutes. They see that. So you can't tell me that, even Madi, if you're president, you go out there and say, this is what I'm doing as far as transportation is concerned. They are seeing the roads, the feeder roads. They are seeing roads. When you're in Gambia, I went all the way to Kaur, and I've seen these roads.
Yeah.
I believe this man should be re-elected. Absolutely not. I think everybody we can do as a people. But I also do understand that he has made a difference. And
so Musa, that is the point. So Musa, that is the point. You've seen the roads, but should this man be re-elected? You said absolutely not. Okay. Why?
But that's
Because
moi.
at the end of the day, huh?
No, that's me. It's because I believe that there are alternatives.
Yeah, no, I know. But like you, me too, I don't think he should be elected. You see, Musa, those roads are important and they are necessary. All right. But this is not the first time we are having roads or electricity being expanded or things being built, expanded. No. And I tell people this, not Jawara, let's forget about that, but Jame. The reign of Jame was the first time the Gambia has some of the most democratic, human rights friendly, development friendly legislations, policies, and institutions in this country. Whether it's the IEC or NCCE, the Ombudsman, the Public Finance Act 2014, the Women's Act 2010, the Children's Act 2005, the Pura Act 2001, the FSQA, the Consumer Protection Act, the Tourism Offences Act, Trafficking in Persons Act, GRA, right, University of the Gambia, the National Television. They all happened during Jammeh's time. And much as a university is necessary, we should have had a university a long time ago, a television station, and so on. All right. What we have come to realize that at the end of the day, 22 years, Jammeh built the bridges. They call him Babili Mansa. He built roads into Combo, all the way to Kaur, and so on. But at the end of the day, after 22 years, Jammeh left the Gambia highly indebted, highly impoverished, highly corrupt, highly oppressive. All right. And so, but the development, the foundation of the development today, when we come to talk about it, honestly, if we would say, look, this is what Jammeh did. As I said, Jawara too, you can do so many things. Health centers, before we talk about UTG, we had MDI here, we had GTTI here, we had RDI here. All right. And if tomorrow we have, Musajang as president, you will expand on these things.
Absolutely.
But the issue is not merely their presence, their availability. And the reason why you would not vote for Barrow to continue, and I will not vote for him to continue, not to even mention the two-term issue, all right?
Yes.
Not to third term, but because at the end of the day, the goods and services he is delivering are not value for money. And, coming in a way that, yes, we are moving, but we could have moved faster and better. So that eventually on this road, if we are going to Kaur, it is like we are taking a Saret. We will get to Kaur there, all right? But we could have taken a Benz 190 or and so on. All right. So, and because the resources that I put together for the electricity, for the roads, these are huge resources. They should have provided us 10 times more in the shortest possible time than what is delivering. Now, of course, somebody in Boraba may not consider that, or somebody in Kaur or Fas, because, since independence, in Boraba, we've never had electricity, water, and so on. The school there, our parents went and tested and built the primary school. That's why we went to school. So if you bring something like that, people will be excited.
But that's what we're saying.
But, yes, but for me, it is fast. For me, it is still fast. I understand, because more, it is enriching certain individuals. All right? And it has not qualitatively, strategically changed the conditions of our people. Even if you can take cold water, ice block to the farm, it has not strategically changed the life of our people. So,
but Madi,
what do you call? Let Sait come in.
No, I want to understand what really defines the condition of the people. Is it the people themselves, or Uncle Madi define that?
Exactly.
Because for me, this is where the issue is. You see, like people here in this country, I've interviewed so many older generation, from independence, and they'll tell me, for those people, they will tell me this country will never move forward, because they have seen almost the same thing every year. But now, the same older generation, some of them are saying that, well, things are changing now because they are seeing electricity, they are saying that. And of course, they are, today I can tell you, like for us, now I live in Jambur and all those different stuff. I mean, I moved here because of the road connectivity. I went to different places when I was looking for a place. Some places there was no road, but here there's road. I don't mind whether it's 30 minutes, 20 minutes, but there's a road connectivity and there's electricity. So for me, that is that has removed me from the Brusubi area to this particular place. Just me. I go into, sometimes when I move, I go through Mamuda to connect to Brufut. And one time I pick people that live around Banyaka and all those. So they have a road which is being connected. And one of them was telling me now, before to get into this community was very difficult, especially during rainy season. And for them, you have solved that problem of the struggle during the rainy season. For them, that is enough. So the condition of the people also for me is for the people to decide for that. And these things should be decided by, they should agree in terms of that based on their vote. But to say also, I mean, development in this country, you look at the development that is happening as well. I mean, I look at electricity. Look at electricity, 90% across the country being connected. It is economic. It has some economic value. What is the economic value? Is that women can now have their fridge and then do their small business while they're at home. Even the local condition within those communities will start changing. And it doesn't matter for me, like I said, it doesn't matter what government comes and look at. That's why for me, when you people complain about this government, that government, I said government will be government. And what government bill is on what they deliver to the society. And usually I look at it based on the National Development Plan. And that's why I monitor and measure government. You say you're going to do A, B, and C, whether you have done that. And at the end of the day, when we are looking at it aggregated, let's look at UTG, for instance. You're talking about investment in UTG. Yeah? Today, the loans that we are taking to build UTG is what is also going to create value. Either way, you have to mobilize your money and then you invest in it or you take a loan. So for me also, when it comes to loan, everybody should take a loan. Loan is not bad as long as you don't spend it to marry a wife and do all those different stuff, but you spend it and invest it in things that work. But I also think in terms of, there's a difference also in terms of the way that government is doing. And I know people will say, okay, I'm defending government or not, but this is what I'm observing. There's also what we call the GLF, the Gambian Local Fund. Yeah. Some of these roads, yes, there is a loan component to it, but I'm also seeing a new trajectory, which me as a person before Babylon people, I believe that our resources should be used to do some of this development, and I'm seeing that been done. Taxpayers' money being used to construct roads. The Hakalang Road is 100% locally funded. So even me, you, and everybody that has contributed money, it is our money that has been there. It's not like before on the Jame. Most of the roads that we are constructed here were mostly donor, coming from donor money. So there's that trajectory that is also shifting, but the intellectual, in terms of the broader structural changes, for me, I think there are still those things, but this development is also changing the lives of people, and people are recognizing that, and that should be applause for this government, I think. So for me, I think that that should be it.
Yeah. So Sait, okay. No. So Sait, I was just going to say, I'm sure as a development expert yourself, you know about immediate needs and strategic needs. And so when you talk about the things you are talking about, I think, yes, these things, first and foremost, they deal with the immediate needs. The road is paved, so, water, when it is rainy season, you see the problem, there's electricity, it provides an opportunity. I always say electricity is not just a development issue, it's a freedom issue. I now have the liberty to charge my phone anytime and get cold water. That's freedom, and of course, development is freedom, as Amatia Sen said. I'm sure you know about that. But said also, I know, I'm not the representative of the people, but we are speaking here as experts, but also as citizens. So any citizen can come and say your piece, and that is it. Yeah. But there is what is also called value for money. Now, for example, I look at the OIC road. Okay. Now, I don't know how much it's costing now. I tried to calculate the first loan that was taken was about 19 million. Then the second phase, I don't know. That's the first phase, I think. The second phase, I don't know. The third phase, December 2024, they had said they had $30 million for the third phase. Now, I look at the OIC road, and from Airport Junction to Senegambia, it takes me 15 minutes. I'm there. All right.
Yeah.
Good. But then I said, why would it take 5 years? Now we are in the 6th year or so to build a road that is 22 kilometers from Airport Junction to Sting Corner. There are no mountains to cut. There's no river to bridge. I mean, there's no natural barrier. All right. And we are looking at this loan. We don't know how much it is. And then not to mention the many inconveniences for it in terms of nature, environment, in terms of persons with disability, in terms of the obstacles it's posing to communities and business along the way. So, knowing these roads from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, of course, I now Kambuje, I time myself because I know my struggle is up the Airport Junction. But from Airport Junction to Senegambia, where my office is, I know it is 15 minutes at most. So I can time myself, when I would leave home. But when I look at it strategically, I see a lot of challenges. And I'm saying this to connect this to an earlier road, Sait, under Jame. The signing of the road from Westfield to Mandinaba.
Like you're holding briefs for Jamere. I don't know why you.
No. It's not a brief for him. But to say, I mean, just to highlight how we cannot just assume that these things are there for development. Now, Mandinaba to Westfield. Hold on, Mandinaba to Westfield. 40 kilometers. I was at the signing ceremony at Ministry of Works. If I recall very well, it was $200 million. Sometime 2020-01. All right. Now, what they have said, the specifications of that road, you realize that most of it has not been done. All right. It has not been done, and we have this road here today. And you look at the condition, everything about this road, you realize that we could have had a far better road, a road that would have served business and community and mobility and everything else better, if really that money was spent as it should be spent. And that, it's a matter for me I will not ignore, because, again, coming back to today,
Pop Samba. Go ahead. Madi freeze.
Yeah, guy ko tag bal guy ñoko tagat legi.
Samba yangi
No, guy NPP, that's what they do. But I think the issue that the opposition is going to have, Musa.
Yes.
Let's just, because you have a people like you said earlier, who've not had connecting roads, who've not had electricity, all these things for a very, very long time. Maybe not throughout their lifetime. We know if there is one thing more in country, be easy to develop, but laziness has been our problem. So Maro can always come back and say, hey, before I came, you guys did not have A, B, C, and D.
Now you have it.
Now you have A, B, C, and D. I have brought you this ferry. So there is a lot of things that he can talk about that are very, very favorable to him, that you cannot take away from him, because they are there. And to the poor farmer in Numuya or in Nakala to the Nyani Marigo or in Ger Angale, quality of road is not their concern.
No.
All their concern was feed you mom musuñu xam kurang. Wow. So it muy kering fu nek ni nak nañ fi tali bo xamni ni. And that's it. So you'll have people, and then you also have in the Gambia, we've dealt with it. Manduba kontar nguur. It takes a lot for people to go against a government in the country. Even Jammeh and all his craziness with everything that he was doing.
Yes.
It took a lot for Gambians to finally say, you know what, forget it, we are moving. And even with that, he was defeated by 18,000 votes. But that said, that should not also stop the opposition from challenging him and offering a better alternative.
Yes.
To what he is offering.
Yes.
Especially, particularly, because we cannot also have a country where Jawara was there for 32 years, 63, or 30 years or so, 62 be 94. Okay? Then you have Jammeh came 22 years. Barrow it from wants to go for 15 before you know he will go for 20. And when would it end? So you throughout our country, 61 years of independence, 3 people have consistently just led our country. Sibopam. It's not most Gambians based on all the surveys done by Afrobarometer and Sepres and all these things would tell you that Gambians want term limits. And Barrow had consistently said that he believed in term limits. But his reason for running for a third term for him is that he doesn't want his party to die. It's not because of I am the best thing to happen to the country. It's because I do not want NPP to die. And I think it is high time for the Gambian people to also say, you know what, we cannot continue to have one person running our country for more than 10 years. But for that to happen, Musa, they also have to see a opposition of Fulla Akfaida. All right? If you look at the Gambia from Nekani, we're talking about the voter registration, which starts on the 8th of April and ends in May.
Yeah.
You would think that the oppositions are having any interest in it, based on what you're hearing from them. We cannot continue to have opposition in Kusbutaka. Do you remember when what's his name? Ibrahim Adiba used to use that phrase? That was around the 2011 elections. He went to Gambia and believed the opposition is Kusbutaka.
Yeah.
And those people were, in fact, a lot more active.
We were the ones doing the pushing.
Wow.
Yes, that's for us.
The Gambians must be presented with an alternative that they know, you know what, Kilunya Wahni, face na sunyapay. But for that to happen, Musa, it cannot also be done in isolation. And I will repeat this, and I'm not trying to be a bankamane or all this. No. The reality is, you know it, I know it, CS knows it, Madi knows it.
Let me say this. Hamgalanata Madi's attempt to kind of play down some of the achievements of this government. It's not even politically, I don't want to say smart, but it's not politically effective. Really. We know really for the country to get to the next level, we really need new leader, completely different individual. But there's nothing wrong with agreeing. You know what? Now you have electricity in your villages. But I want to tell you, now you have maybe drinking water in your villages. Now you have road connecting you in your villages. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. But at the same time, tell them where the country, because Madi is attempting to do that. Clearly, we could have been at a totally different level. Now he's bringing in value for money. That's a very difficult thing to explain to an average guy who happens to live in a small village. Are you really getting your value for money? So look, for the opposition, you have just insinuated it. For them to be able to be formidable against this guy, obviously they need to come together. Everybody understands that there's an affordability issue in the country. There's a reason why Nyom Sait Matty, all this polling data is saying, all of them are saying they don't even want Barrow to run. Ask yourself, why are they saying that? And then run on those issues more than anything else. This electricity thing, I am telling you, Brother Madi, it will be absolutely difficult to run against that. Telling people that they're not getting value for money. This road concern, people can say whatever they want to say. For us to say that somehow we're supporting this government, we're not. The reality is the reality, because we talk to our folks back home and some of the things that they're saying. So if you want to launch a formidable, effective campaign against this guy, you got to come up with something a little bit much more creative than, the amount of money that they're spending, or there's a lot of corruption that happened during this contract delivery, which is very possible. And as an individual, very suspicious of some of these folks. Obviously, they were kickbacks. I'm sure of that.
No, kickbacks all over the place.
You
see, opposition will have enough issues to run against Barrow, in spite of all this infrastructural development.
With all this, because in spite of all of this, when we said an opposition running against Barrow, Barrow is losing. 49% to 34%.
Yep.
Why are people saying that they would prefer an alternative than to him? That's what they need to look. That's what they need to look into.
Well, it's going to be interesting. And another topic I've seen, Rohi wrote this thing today about the attestation in Banjul. Mane Rohi wrote this piece about the attestation in Banjul. Because when they did the attestation last time, Sait, Matty and them went to court, rightly so, and the courts agreed with them that Banjul should not have attestation. Musa, I've always said that the attestation thing should just be scrapped all the way. Banjul, there is a reason why Banjul was never part of attestation.
Yeah, this attestation thing. Yeah.
Because all offices where everybody who is born in Banjul is opportune to walk to Board of Health and get a birth certificate.
Be registered.
Also. So it's different from a Musajeng from Kawur, maybe Taniwana.
Hey, Kawur,
let's say Boy Fati, wherever he is from Badibu.
Hey, Boy Fati joge Badibu de.
Fan la joge.
Ki mo joge Jarume Koto. It's a population of about 10 people. So them and Georgetown in the house. They used to Nyoranje last. Not only that, they'll be walking back to Jarume. It's not too far from Georgetown.
Yeah, the people, maybe the people from Jarume Koto can even walk to Georgetown and get this thing. But there were places in Hamnini people did not have access to all these documents. This is the 21st century. We do not need attestations. We should make sure that every government department is decentralized to where when you are born, you should be able to get access to that voter's card, birth certificate, or all these things. But we have our government that is wasting our time going all the way to Spain to register Gambians, to Central African Republic to register Gambians, and Gambians in the Gambia cannot even have birth certificate or ID cards. And this is where the problem is. But Banjul definitely should not have attestation. I believe that.
No.
You know,
so, Madi,
attestation, man, I believe altogether.
Neo, you're not really an activist. Actually, you're a politician. Because when it comes to, when you inject yourself, you sound more or less like a politician. And that's what Dr. Sise is saying. I mean, look, Kini Bulenko Deglu. His whole Edward Francis Small research and Nini Nana is nothing more than a political entity, more so than anything else. And when people listen to you, you're always basically critical of the government on every issue.
But what is wrong with that?
Kharaman could give him the opportunity. I'm not saying that whether there's something wrong with it or right about it. I mean, these are some of the things the doctor would say. Anytime he goes to COVID time, he's addressing Madi.
No, but that's the thing. You know why? Before Madi answers, no, you know why? Government does not like people who tell them the truth.
I want to give the man
that's the thing.
the opportunity.
Yeah. You know what? There was a time when the government saw Dr. Sise like that before he became a politician. But Dr. Sise has forgotten that.
He has totally forgotten that.
Oh yes.
So Madi, I mean, how would you react to that? That look, man, this Madi is nothing but another political guy. You know, behind everything that he does, he sounds like an opposition politician. Why is he wrong? Because you act just like some of these opposition politicians, really. Madi.
Yeah, well, first of all, those comments are protected speech, so he has a right to say them. You know, so we have to agree on that. But to the substance of it, I mean, you know, apart from what Cook just said, I mean, the reason they are doing that because you have gone under their flesh, and they don't want to be held account, and so it is part of that practice to try to discredit, alienate, demonize, and silence eventually. So for me, if anything, I take what Doctor is saying as an indicator of success, that I'm making impact, and that is why he's responding in the way he's responding. But on the other side, the role I'm playing is accountability. I say, Musa, if you recall, when I set up the Edward Francis Moore Center for Rights and Justice, I was on this show, and you raised the issue about collaboration. That I'm very critical of government.
Right.
You are concerned whether they will collaborate. And I remember telling you, they have no choice. They have to collaborate with me. All right. Because I'm a stakeholder, and they have a duty by law to collaborate with me, like with all other stakeholders. Now, how and when and they will collaborate would depend on how we engage. And government is collaborating with me. That is, if collaboration is communicating, responding, our letters are going to the highest level, and we are getting a response that I think is what we need to get. You understand? And for us to know where they stand. So, accountability work is the function of every individual, every organization. And sometimes our positions may be similar. I mean, say with the opposition. All right. And if that happens, so be it. Okay. But I think Doctor needs to be honest enough to realize that what we are doing as Edward Francis Moore Center and as Madi Jorbateh, like you and Coach and said here, is to hold the state to account. And let us deal with the issue than try to say he is hiding behind activism to be a politician. I mean, Doctor was a university professor. He came up to set up a political party. I mean, there's no law that says you cannot. So if I needed to be a politician, I think my chances are better if I set up a political party. So I would have just gone to set up a political party. The fact that I have refused to set up a political party or join another political party, I'm where I am. So I really don't have much to say to that. I mean, he can say that, but of course, it just shows that we are making impact. I am making impact. At the beginning of your show, I had, before I joined in, following, I had Sait talk about Madi's influence.
Right.
All right. That is an indication there, that influence. Now, how do I play this influence? It can be a matter of debate. All right. I'm one stakeholder. You can say, yeah, but you have more influence than the others. But then it's also about power. I mean, the ability to bring who, influence who, or make, direct what, or control what, or and so on. And he said, I'm a conversation starter. And I think that is it, to make sure issues that are pertinent, to make sure they're alive, they're on the table, they are not swept aside, but I'm one actor out of a whole community. And, all of us need to participate. So I also see Sait as a big influencer, honestly. And, but of course, all of us have our limitations and so on and so forth. So we'll continue on that. So I'm fine with Doctor calling me hiding behind. I don't even know what that means, hiding behind civil society. Because there's something unlawful that I'm doing, or Edward Francis Moore is doing, or a politician is doing, or a political party is doing. So really, one doesn't need to hide behind anything. I mean, like I said, from university class to a political party. And now, he went, was he hiding behind a political party in order to become a minister? Maybe we should raise that question, but I don't want to become a minister anyway.
I don't think you.
But
there's something else to say.
You know what, Madi? I just wanted to interject here more.
I forget this. Something that he said, that that you're an influencer. He did say that, but what I gleaned from it is the underutilization of that influential role to move the. I mean, say this here. Maybe that's not what he meant. That maybe that influential role is not fully utilized in a way that could move things.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. No, I think I also look at I was telling him this based on his position on the constitutional process. Yeah. You see, the debate on the constitutional trajectory, it was all said by Uncle Madi.
Yes.
The first one, he said what? He calls it what? He said, "Do not touch," and that was the entire debate of the. Yeah, do not touch. that was the entire debate of the Constitution. Some National Assembly members would say, "Oh, they say that we should not touch, so therefore we're not going to touch." So they don't touch. So they use that as an anything that you say, people can use it as an excuse to do whatever they want to do. And then the second one, he calls it what? Ballot papers. And the whole, everything, ballot papers. Like, so he sets the agenda. So sometimes I feel like if he sets the agenda in a way, then he can bring people together. But if you set it in a different way also, people will go apart. So for me, that's why I said, so for me, that's why I said, as an agenda setter,
What did he say?
That's my assessment of him.
You tend to fall under that category because I remember that debate as well. And at some point, Madi was trying to, after he hears from different areas, he was trying to pivot, but he boxed himself in a way that it was difficult for him to pivot out of it.
Come on, yes.
You know what?
It was just difficult.
You know what, Madi?
You could say that when you listen to Madi, he was beginning to change his, but hard position that he took.
Yes, his first position.
But I think it's good to be a little bit more, especially when you're an influencer, be a little bit more. Give your.
Don't listen to Musa.
No.
Musa, don't listen to Musa and Sait.
No, he has to do it like the Fana nuance.
Don't do that.
Nuance it sometimes.
If we had the ballot papers like they call it, we wouldn't be like in this problem.
But you see, Musa, that's where the problem is. Why must everything be dealt with? Okay, you think I may do it, but no.
It's not that.
The whole process was dishonest. The whole process was dishonest in the first place. Okay, but man, here is what I want to say to you. You will hear all this talk. There was a time they go to think, Edward Francis is just one person, this thing, it's just one person. Then you launched it. Then they saw different faces. Now they have reverted back to their default setting to borrow from Barrow. And now it's like, Madi is UDP. But what is wrong with Madi, in fact, being a member of a political party? There is nowhere in the world that says that just because you are an activist, that you cannot support a political party. That's utter nonsense. In the United States, I'm not. Unless you wanna defend your Dr. Cisse Sagai, you can do that.
Then let me finish what I'm saying. This is my statement. You like Dima.
No. Let me finish my statement because I was saying something young here, so I gave you a chance.
Sorry,
Dr. King was a registered Mune Republican, wasn't he?
Kanji?
Dr. King, that's what they call him. He was a registered Republican. They will say that.
I don't have a problem with that.
No, hold on. I'm not answering you. You are not the issue. Sister, you are not the issue. Why you want to do my Merek Majahal? Mema Daniel? What made Dr. King? Who would say that there was a bigger activist in this country than Dr. King? Wasn't the man good trouble? Small word, from Atlanta, Georgia. What's his name again?
Reverend
John Key.
John
Lewis.
Yeah.
Who was a bigger activist than John Lewis?
Right.
Even when he was a politician. So this nonsense narrative that they want to sell you, that because of you are an activist, you should not support a political party. That's bullshit. Activism
let me say something. No, in Gambia, every political party will try to box you in this way or the other way.
But that's the nonsense.
That's the point. That's the point. What I'm there is
it's nonsensical.
At a particular time.
No, what they do is when Sait Matty does not speak the language that they want to hear, they say Musa is NPP. Yes. When Musa does not speak the language that Musa wants to speak, Musa is NPP. Musa was NPP.
Yeah. You know how many people saying that I'm NPP?
Yeah. Do you know how many people this guy demanding, Pasambakai is UDP. I hear that. I don't care what people say. But the reality of the matter is, when they talk about
where you taking the where
no. Why don't it's not a matter of what you like. That's your choice. Man, I'm not going by. I've never gone by what people like. I go by what I believe.
The issue that Sait myself commented on Madi.
I said that Madi should not listen to that.
He has.
Madi,
I don't think Madi is even comfortable with any party. Like I don't.
He is not. Madi,
he is.
Madi, you are on the right trajectory.
Madi is one
if you see it blue, call it as blue.
People would be supporting a party. What we are saying is this: when there are fundamental issues at stake, and then Sait Matty is saying Madi is an influencer. He set the tone. People are saying, especially when it comes to this constitutional issue, he set the tone, and that's why we are where we are today.
But you know what? Not to stop you guys.
Unfortunately,
no. Listen, the same way Madi is powerful. The same way that Madi is powerful is the same way that what do they call those people? The government is powerful and set your own agenda. It's not Madi's to try to give you a leeway. No, if they wanted that, the government, they should not have been dishonest from the very beginning. They were honest, disingenuous in the whole process. And that's why we agree with all that.
No, we agree with all that. No, from our head, I mean, what I'm saying is not he should do that because everybody that find a position. Yeah, everybody has a position. Well, eventually, what I'm saying is that the position that Madi sets, it's as simple as that. So if Madi says, okay, yes, the Constitution, for instance, has this clause, but let's negotiate it, people will go and say, let's negotiate the Constitution.
There was nothing to negotiate.
So Sait, if you allow me, Musa, that is our role, to advocate, to influence, to participate.
Absolutely.
I would have preferred in Gambia, I think one of our problems is we also don't listen to each other. And in fact, I'd even go further to say we don't value each other. And so if Madi says this, maybe some of the folks in the civil society should, give that benefit of doubt that, look, this is also a veteran who's been there. Maybe we need to take time and listen to what he is saying. Because when I said don't touch our constitution, if people had listened to me very well, and which is a matter I've raised with even people in the government, we would have had a constitution by now. A better that 2020 constitution would have passed, or at least would have gone with it up to referendum. Wherever it was, that is it. Because the moment you allow the parliament to touch, then party capture comes, political party capture comes, politician capture comes. And if one understands what is the nature of governance of a republic, a constitution, it should not be a very difficult understanding or issue to understand that indeed the constitution is written by the people. The state can set a process. They set a process. A CRC Act set up a CRC. They went around. So that's a process. And the executive, the legislature, they are part of that process. They all have a role there. But their role should be just facilitation and not to determine, to control, to direct. And so I was speaking from a very particular angle, which I've spoken about it, I've written extensively, and I would have loved our civil society take time to listen to what Madi is saying. And don't ignore it. I jump onto issues I see Sait does or Marnyang does down there or Flex down, and I know it's a point, and I jump and I realize this should be supported. I'm not going to sit separately over there. I know this is an issue that needs to be supported because I listen. I see what this guy said. This needs to be supported. I see GPU stand on the this accreditation. I don't keep quiet. I don't go and give another narrative. I know what GP is. We need to join them. The former president of GP issued a statement. I said, look, we will have to stand on that statement and also issue our statement as EF Small Center. That's what we did. So we need to listen to each other in the Gambian civil society and, and value each other, what we are bringing. And I think that is a big weakness in our civil society. And this is why good initiatives, ideas are not going forward. And see, some of us, I mean, when we say these things, look, today, any area you can think of, any policy development area you can think of, our civil society and even the Gambian government has campaigned on those things. Let's say women's empowerment. We've campaigned for it. That 1980 was when the Women's Bureau was established. Gambia was in the 1994 Beijing Conference on Women. All right. The Beijing 2015, Beijing Plus 2015 was held in the Gambia in 2009. And all these are declarations with, targets. Today, you look at the Gambia cabinet, 21 ministers, only 3 are women. You look at the National Assembly, 58 members, only 5 are women. The local councils, 121, only 17 are women, 19 are women. So it tells you, where has all our campaign gone for women's empowerment? You come to youth work. I mean, all the youth work development, and then look at youth representation, look at youth participation, you look at the back way. Anti-corruption, good governance, human rights campaigns that we've all done. Today, corruption is greater than 20 years ago. So again, our civil society has to be humble and honest to realize that just because I'm an anti-human rights organization, I can go around communities, do the sensitization, hold the workshops, train. I mean, I can tell you, I have trained with Drame, like hundreds of police officers from police headquarters in Banjul up to Basse. Some of the officers we trained 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they were corporals. They were sergeants. Today, they are commissioners. They are the top, people down there. And then we see the police brutality from 2017 to date. So sometimes when we talk, I think civil society has to realize that just because you have done all those trainings and workshops and sensitization does not mean outcome is going to come, change is going to come. And so we have to be humble and honest to realize that, look, this requires a lot more. And precisely say, this is why I established Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, to situate it on accountability. At the end of the day, it is not the outputs, the activities, the resources. It is about the outcomes and the impact. That is where our civil society is failing. And we don't talk about it. So we are seeing more and more workshops, more and more seminars, more and more. I mean, election observation, we've worked in elections here. There's no report. I mean, 2006 is when we started election observation here. I served as the domestic observation coordinator through one. All right, but the changes we have raised in the recommendations in our election reports, which international observers have raised, and now we have a lot more organizations engaged in election observation. Still now, you look at our Election Act 2025, it's a disgrace. The election decree is better than the 2025 Election Act. I mean, so, and we've been in this advocacy, in these campaigns. So our civil society has to realize the fundamental issues. Otherwise, I think we will continue, you and I, will go and retire and, the same issues continue. No, but the same issues continue. And then, our young ones come and they pick it up with so much passion and enthusiasm and commitment and, sleepless nights, running all over, trek in this country, field visits and so on, and the same things continue. Hello. So for me, having gone that, been on this road for that long, I said, look, I got to be honest to myself. I got to be realistic, and I'm not going to play nice anymore. Because at the end of the day, what it does is some people sit in public office and even in our civil society, and enjoy benefits in the name of the people, and change is not taking place. So for me, this is where I am. So I think our civil society, we need to listen to each other more. The Borough Papers, as Tango, which is the umbrella organization, or civil society, should have come, and which I have raised, on the Tango platform. We should have come as a body to say, no, And
Yeah,
stop
but
rationalizing
Okomai,
the legitimacy process and all of that. But then,
you know where the challenge, I agree with you entirely, especially for the need to listen. But you see, the challenge that I'm talking about also is tagging. In Gambia here, people don't, my understanding of Gambia, when things are tagged, it is like you're closing the door. That's how people will see it. Closing the door for conversations and all those different stuff. So that's the aspect that we are saying. But the role that you are playing in terms of the accountability, you're not only pushing government, but you're only pushing us even within civil society to think about these issues. But how do we understand, how would society react to those issues also? For me, that's the other challenge that I see. And so that's why sometimes I remove myself from the civil society space and I become just a normal researcher. I just look at, observe issues, and then I speak about those issues. But what I'm saying in terms of the influence, like you can influence and mobilize people as well. But it's also how do we frame the conversation? You understand? Because the framing, for me, is very important. It's very, 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 very important in any kind of advocacy, in kind of discussion, because framing also helps mobilize people, but framing also helps to put people on the same agenda. But listening, I think it's not only civil society, it's the entire country. In this country, we don't listen to each other. That's the biggest challenge for me when it comes to building democracy. It's at all. Nobody listens to nobody. Because, of course, we wrote a paper on this. We call it Managing Political Crisis in a Small African State. I argue that is the small size of the state. People know each other, so people don't listen. Like, comment like these are the kind of mentality that people talk about. So this is also the reality of our society. So if we live in this kind of society, how do we navigate this society? For me, that is the part that the rational element that I want to bring into the conversation. How do we navigate a small society where everybody knows? Like today, when I look at government, what I see my professors, Prof. Ismaila, I look at Professor Gomez, I look at my colleagues, I look in the civil society, I see my uncles, my aunties, people that raise us basically in the work that we do today. So what do we have to do when it comes to that context? So for us, like the younger ones, our situation is different from the older generation. So there's also that contextual factor that we have to bring in the conversation. Otherwise, advocacy will be like shouting match. Everybody will be shouting against each other, and then nothing works.
And we wouldn't have a whole lot to show for it. Again, taking a hard position based on principles, and that's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at a country that all voices tend to matter, there has to be a way of also bringing people together. Because again, going back to this constitutional debate, I think we would have been better off as a country if we moved it a little bit.
I disagree.
When you disagree, that is why.
Here is the reason. No, Sait, I heard what you said, and I understand where you're coming from. The whole constitution, this one, the Barrow Papers, they started, kind of well by going, okay, we're going to involve civil society, we're going to come together, and we can work on the changes that we want to make. That was the understanding. They brought in international idea, whoever those people are. All right? Then all of a sudden, you wrote a document, and everybody who was part of the process is asking, when did this come about? Then you're claiming, oh, we wrote it with civil society, we wrote it with the opposition, and everybody is saying, no, we did not participate in writing the process. That is a bad faith process in itself. If they had come back to say, listen, these are the challenges that we had, because there was not that much of a difference between the first draft. In the first draft, anyway, it was some few issues.
Yeah.
Okay. You could have brought people and say, listen, these are the challenges. That's what they claimed that they were going to do. Let's come to an agreement. Where we cannot agree, we say, you know what? Let Parliament deal with that, because they can go to their committees and handle those issues. Okay? But what they did,
yourself and
honestly,
that was not your position. Just like the government was not, they were playing to it. You guys were also playing to the gallery. Somewhere along the line, there was the same
gallery
of this world. There was the National Human Rights Commission of this world saying, wait a minute here. Maybe there is a compromise. You guys didn't want to.
There was no compromise because it was done in the most dishonest way.
You see, as long for me,
the dishonesty of the government is the reason why that this did not move.
But the constitution is not for the government, coach.
No, but it's not for the government, but it is only the government that can table it in parliament. What I'm saying here is, when the first process happened, Musa, when we were the ones calling the government officials, Nyom Ahmadba and all these people, telling them, give this a chance to go at least to the committee stages. We are not going to do that. This is not.
Hate it when
I'm just coming, Musa.
No, I hate it because you know them, and I never supported them.
No, you did not. That's what I'm saying. I was on the call with you. Why the fuck don't take with your sagar? Huh? Then this one came. First, when they went to Nigeria, I think it was the biggest nonsense. Siwapam. They came back and said they had a process. They were going to involve civil society. They were going to involve opposition. Let's allow them to work on this process. If you were honest, when you write your draft, you will in fact call back those people who are even presenting and say, you know what, we were working with you guys based on our notes. This is what we wrote. What do you think? You can have your give and take, but no, you came and wanted like a spoon fed us that nonsense of a document, and then Musa Jang, who is obsessed with, I'm gonna be 50 plus 1, and we should be fine. No, we
I'm telling you,
that was supposed to hold the government to account. Gambia has bigger problems than 50 plus 1.
Look, my insurance policy was 50 plus 1 and term limit. If we had that in back pocket, I could. I mean, when it comes to it, even if Barrow were to be re-elected, I think we at least have something in place. Man, that's what I'm talking about.
But I also give one example. Listen at this. Madi talk about the nature of the Electoral Act. You see, you compare. We are writing an article. We're comparing the 1996, all these different things, and then we share it. And there's an argument that we're making in terms of that. But then we were at the validation of this election act. You know, before the constitution, we were there. We were arguing this attestation problems you have there. You know, the low-hanging fruits you have that could easily be adjusted. All of those things. Civil society, everybody, we went to this place, we argued, we debated, we do all those different stuff. But every bill will follow parliament. And parliament, what happened? Some of the issues when you raise diaspora, what do they do? They go remove all of those things. Because you're in power. What they can do is just to talk. But there are a lot of people, you have the new layer. That is the way our society is structured. So there are layers and people with authority who does what. So how many in the government more at table a bill? Yes, so they will come, most of these bills, they're drafted and then they table it. So parliament will, when it comes to the parliamentary process, parliament will invite us, new one. I'll give an example, this National Research Fund. You know, I went there, I expressed myself with the Jelinko, that was a process of consultation. So government will come, whether it's a constitution, with any kind of bill, they will have to do those kind of stuff. But the issue, what do we do? Yeah, if they did where it was dishonest and all those things, what they did, yes, they did that. I mean, it will never move out of that. But now they bring it before the parliament, and parliament is the house of the people. It's our house. It's an opportunity. Parliamentarians, they don't listen to us. Because some of them will come and do certain arguments like, leader, based on their political party, political agenda. So there's a whole regimentation that is also existing within that framework. So the advocacy at some point, it is very limited in terms of what we do. But when it comes to a constitution, it belongs to all of us. We understand it, rule. Eventually, it will go to parliament because if you want to remove a constitution, you have to follow the set rules that have been set by the constitution, the 1997 constitution, and we cannot move away from that. In the 2020 draft, I was arguing that maybe we need to do what we call the condition of necessity. You know, it's necessary that we all agree that we have to have a constitution. So we ignore the 1997 constitution and then we just go ahead and then agree. But there are different ways to do that. But 1997, but the constitutional process today, most of the issues say it has a bearing on the fact that I'm in constitution day. And of course, we can continue to blame the government, but then it's become a whole society approach. It is the refusal, it is the acceptance, and all of those things now. Why the country, the condition of the country is, we have to accept the role that we played during that process. And we cannot remove that because that is part of the historical facts as well. You know, for me, those are the issues where I'm also saying that, you know, then you want to understand, who makes a role, you just have a process, our role is advocacy, is discussion, and
yeah, so said in terms of what you are saying, like in principle, I agree. We all have to take responsibility for where we are. And I think some of us saw this very early. If you recall, then I was at Tango in April 2017. We convened a civil society consultative forum, purposely to awaken ourselves that we are in a new dispensation, and in this dispensation, we have a role to play. All right. And some of us know not necessarily the new rulers who took over from Jame harbor the best of interest for the country or are necessarily Democrats, so to speak. So that it is important that the civil society change its mode, its focus, direction, everything to get prepared to play a role. And politics governance is an engagement confrontation game. All right. I'm not talking about violence or physical, but it is a game that we have to engage. Now, I think along the way, because when we had that in April, I think a few months later we had another meeting. Then Dr. Ismail Say's arrest came towards the end of 2017. We even had convened a consultative emergency meeting to deal with that arrest, and even held a press conference to say we support Dr. Sise. All right, December 2017, January 2018. But I think over time, our civil society, for me, we withdrew. We got I don't know, maybe compromise may not be the right word, but we sort of jumped along or moved along with the state, probably out of goodwill, right, out of good faith that we want to collaborate, okay, but not bearing in mind the fact that, as you said, the Parliament, we had all of those engagements you've said on the Elections Act or bill, the elections bill. Organizations submitted position papers to the parliamentary committee. Personally, I wrote my own position paper and submitted to the parliament, and they ignored it. Okay, but then what was the response of the civil society? We did not come as a bloc to confront, because that will always be the thing, in any multi-party democracy. So for me, I put the blame entirely on the civil society. Of course, government, we cannot ignore them, because they should take the responsibility, the leadership, to rule this country, because that's why they are elected in the best interest of the country. But we as governance stakeholders, I think we did not play our part well. One, we did not listen to each other. Two, we did not take a principled, sustained position. And of course, overall, there isn't a strategy. So at the end of the day, civil society has emerged, I think, even weaker probably now than in Jammeh's time. So and that doesn't go well for our governance, for our development and democracy. So I think civil society needs to go back to look at itself, to the drawing table, that the approach that we are taking, this approach of appeasement, of collaboration, of, not to say collaboration is necessarily bad, but to realize that inside collaboration, we have to be very strong on accountability. Otherwise, the Elections Act, look at the Anti-Corruption Act, look at the Criminal Offences Act, all right? You realize they have diluted all of these documents severely, and then the enforcement comes, and who is challenging the government to comply with the laws that are in place, and many things. And who should do that? Because essentially the actors in this space are political parties, the civil society, and the government itself. As primary actors, of course, others are there. The media is there, even the private sector is there. So I think that this is our drawback as civil society. So it is to listen to each other, to value each other, but not to forget the traditional, the primary function of civil society is advocacy and accountability. All right. Our job is not to go and provide goods and services to the people, build hospitals and clinics. Somebody is supposed to do that, the government and the private sector. Our job is not to go and teach people about how to vote and so on. The state has established agencies for that, the NCCE. Our job is to make sure the state creates proper laws at policies and institutions, and they perform according to law and deliver according to law to bring the change in people's life. If we miss that point, then what we will be doing is building hospitals, acting like a parallel state. You know, how many of our CSOs are building schools, training police officers, training parliamentarians, training women, and anything and everything? You know, and we've been doing that for the past since independence. The Action 8, you know, VSO, CRS, those people have been there, Child Fund, they built schools, hospitals since independence to date. But at the end of the day, you look at the socio-economic conditions of the people, you wonder, was there Action 8 ever in this country? You know, for example. So I think civil society needs to look at itself all over again, and so that we reposition ourselves. In fact, I remember that was the 3 R's I was saying in April: reposition, refocus, and restructure. That is what we need in the civil society. Otherwise, well, we'll be there going along, but then our impact will be very minimal.
And I think, Madi, you are right. I think the problem that civil society has in the Gambia is they think that everything should work with attending a conference or a seminar and all these things. And of course, they're happiest when they're invited by government to some of these things. You know, we have to be able to hold the government to account, because definitely, especially in the Gambia, where our National Assembly, I think this group of National Assembly, I think this is one of the worst I've ever seen. So you have to be able to have people who would stand up and say the inconvenient truth. But, you know, it is what it is.
Oh, Samba, yeah, I'm sure that we're almost at the end, but
yeah, I think Sarian just came in.
Has just joined us, so we need to kind of roll out the red carpet. Brother Maron.
Yes, sir.
I was, you know, today I'm so lackluster because you're not here to get me to that, you know.
You are low energy and lack of stamina. I get it, you know. But I hope you were very nice to Coach and Madi.
Oh, never.
You call them activists, and they are right on the money. And I've seen that lately. You've blended the part of strategies and part of activism. So kudos to both of them, because they've been very consistent. But lately, I've seen that you've shifted a little bit. So that is great. And I just want to make sure that you are nice to them, because definitely I've seen that. You're calling for mass protest and all that. It needs to be orderly and all that. So, Coach, I'm telling you, and I heard Madi say one thing: advocacy and holding them accountable. And I think your man is shifting. He's getting that all right on the money. I mean, I seen that and I was wow. Strategy is calling for. He says yesterday, how did they call it? No King's March, and he was like, "Oh, we need to replicate from this," and I was like,
"Hey, like I said, when I put a hand in the toolbox and I see something is working, I'm like, okay, you need to do that."
And you were successful, because I saw Karamba and Demba Balde all jump on it too, and I was like, okay, that's a shift right there. All right, man. Well, I just wanted to say apologies, man, because yesterday we attended a funeral and I'm behind a power curve on some assignment that I had to stay grounded and get it done before tomorrow. So, but next week, inshallah,
Absolutely.
you know, I'll be part of the panel. Thank you, so, brother Matty. How you doing, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I'm good.
All right,
so
good to see you.
And accountability, that's advocacy and activism.
Oh, good on you. I mean, hey, someone is replicating from your model. So whatever model you've employed, it is working. And I think you need to amplify that voice, because someone is replicating from your model. So good on you. Good on you.
Bob Samba, it's been a good one. It's always interesting when we have Madi and then of course Sait Matty. Come like you remember when I started out the program, I'm like, Sait Matty is on the right of Madi. Madi is way on the left flank. And their approach, it's always different. And it's a good thing. it's definitely a good thing. It has helped the conversation. So, Madi, so where do we go here with the whole media thing? I mean, obviously there has to be engagement of some sort. And I mean, Doctor is out there doing his thing, saying his thing. But at some point, I mean, how do you see it? Where will this all end? I mean,
well, I hope he drops it, as soon as possible. But I mean, I hope GPU continue to stand, its ground to oppose this, and I hope civil society will join to stand with the media, and of course the rest of the citizens, the political parties. On our part, we are, leading, on the campaign. And for me, just like the 2002 scenario, if need be, that is, if the ministry intends to go ahead, I think protest and court action is what, should follow. People should protest, and as AF Small Center, we will, organize a protest against it. And if you have the means, we are going to take court action, just like it was done in 2002, to make sure that these regulations are dropped completely, and instead demand that they take a path, that is in line with the law and best practices. That's where we are.
So, Madi, you think, this whole mass mobilization, because, I think Sait was saying that, that's not something that works in our country. Do you think mass mobilization to kind of get people all excited about an issue, not too violently, but peaceful, just peaceful marching to send a message to the government and say, you know what, we have a problem with this. Why is that so difficult? Is it?
Well, I think it's got to do with our socio-cultural political history. It is. We must recognize that protest is not new in the Gambia. It may not have been a very common practice as it is, say, in Senegal or in France or the US, but EF Small in the 1920s organized protests here. All right. We had protests, soon after independence. Workers' unions have had protests in this country. When I was in high school, I can remember at least one protest around 83, student protest. There were protests at Gambia College at one point. Of course, during the Jammeh regime, we saw protests, even though turned deadly, and since 2017, we are seeing protests, because protest is the most, the cheapest, most immediate, most convenient, and sort of like automatic democratic tool in the hands of citizens.
Yes.
It can be organized, it can be spontaneous, and they are very necessary, because protests may change a policy immediately or prevent something, but or not. But the important point is protest brings the issue on the table so that government is aware of it, other citizens are aware of it, and it is something that we need to encourage, so that it is a very important element of citizen action, citizen, participation. All right. It's unfortunate in the Gambia, though, protests, despite all the history, has this negative connotation that protests are, it's about criminals, they're associated with criminals, and with this obnoxious public order act, the police, make it appear as it is, and so it's rather unfortunate. But protest is important. Citizens need to adopt it. Because not all the time you will have the ability to go to court. We'll have the means to go to court. Yes. The time and so many things. We can write letters. These are all actions citizens can take. But I think one of the ways, probably the best way to generate and engender citizen participation, really, and therefore strengthen, defend democracy and human rights and good governance, is protest, which should be done peacefully. There's no reason for protest to be violent. And also there's no reason for government to be afraid of protest. They should welcome it and listen to it. In fact, I say we should even have a protest choir in this country. In the middle of Banjul, where we go just to express ourselves, on any issue that concerns us. But Yeah, I mean, so it would have to be a culture that would have to be developed, and I think that is happening, even though in a very slow way, um, so to speak. You call for a protest, still the numbers are very limited, very few. But we will come to grow in this culture, I guess, as we move on. Yeah.
You know, we had institutions that were formed. They called themselves Protest Duga, and they've been on vacation for the past 2 years. Discipline. And then all they do is just activism. So,
Yeah,
brother,
activism at any
I
cost.
think we're going to give you the last word, and no one else should speak. The last word goes to
Since you have the last word, Duga was formed for a purpose. Gambia now, we cannot have protests outside of the Gambia. It needs to happen on the ground.
Yeah,
And you know what? We are good. We are good. And one thing that the government does not want is Duga to be back to where it was. You don't even want that. But anyway.
So, brother Sait, final words from you, my brother, and thanks again for doing.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I think at one point, Coach was talking about the issue around attestation, but I just realized also that as what we are talking about in Banjul is also happening in Janjambure in terms of being the first capital. So there are a lot of things within our electoral system, electoral laws that we need to clarify or need to strengthen, especially. And but just to say, democracy is built. For me, that's what I strongly believe, that it's a culture as well. And Gambians have been voting for many years, but that is not enough. So if we want our country to progress, we need to build the culture, and the culture, as Uncle Madi was talking about, has to be a culture of listening, culture of engagement, and all that. And yeah, so because listening itself, I remember Fabakari Kale, when we were younger, they used to train us, all of this, Uncle Madi, Fabakari, and others. He will draw something and say that, Fabakari Kale. He will say that a leader must have small mouth and big ears, that we have to listen. And so I think as a society, we have to have big ears as well, and then to be able to listen. But I think in terms of, I think one of the major challenges we're going to face this election has to do with this issue of attestation. I mean, I think those are things that we need to pay attention to. Particularly last time we went to court because we wanted to change the system, but since far, it's the same language, it's the same issue that is there. But outside that, I'm loving this country. So we have to think about it now, especially now that America you have a dictator. So for us, we have to build our democracy and continue to do the work that we continue to do. And of course, civil society is challenged, but I think overall, I mean, we've been doing a lot, but it needs to, as Uncle Madi said, we need to rethink our ways, we need to rethink our processes. And to say that let's continue building, let's continue debating. For me, I love the debate. I love the debate, and I think this is what the democracy should be. And we continue on that. Jërëjëf.
No deposit, flexible payment plans, and lots of discounts. Get your legal apartment today.
Sait was talking about loving Gambia. There is one thing that unites all of us, that is football. On Tuesday, the Gambia will play the champions of Africa, Senegal, in Senegal. So let's all wear our Gambian colors. Not this one. Don't look at me. I didn't vote for him. This is for Trump. But this one here, the Gambian colors. So let's go and represent. And we need to beat Senegal.
I hope that we get the monkey off our back. I still remember those days. Was it 1981 at Box Bar Stadium?
1980.
1980. And we had him.
And 85 too. 85 was the same thing. 85, it was a good game until they swing that bit.
I remember what was the arbitrator's name? Morgado.
Morgado. Yep.
I was so mad at him. Such a swing. Senegal. We've never been able to. I would love to see that.
Yeah, that was a team. Star Jallo, Idaka,
Lamin Owens.
Owens.
2 minutes of the game, boy. But Lamin Owens and Daniel defense be Sunday for being a choral bo. I could still see it.
Madi, this Madi is so old.
Huh?
Yeah.
You don't know. Musa has been.
He's a dinosaur, you know.
He was watching that game, Monty Bob and Madi. So what does he have to say?
You know? Yeah, I remember the Lamin Owens, yeah, Komi Owens, you know. This guy who became a DJ, Mickey B, what's the name? Mike. Is it Mike? Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know, he does work now. I don't know, but
is it Michael? It's not Michael Tamba of Fini, the one that used to play for Saraba.
No, I think he was playing for Saraba too. Michael, Mike. But Mickey B, I mean, he does DJing at West Coast at one point.
Okay.
The football name, yeah, I mean, yeah, but yeah, I
the
remember.
other DJ, the other one that DJs and used to, well, he was a DJ now. He was Musa Sise Balake. He used to be also a very good player. He played for SK Motel.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Star Janis, you know, I don't know.
Oh yes. Oh man. If you want to see Musa, an elegant player, that was, you know, that time, because you know Musa left the Gambia around the 70s to come to the US. Star Janis, oh my God. No, that man was good. That's what they used to call him. They used to give him this nickname.
Matty, we'll have to bring you back again. And,
all right, guys.
Without a doubt, it was a good one.
Yep.
I'm gonna small boy with a boy fat and then I can send link me.
He will never join. Is they are talking about He's never going to come. But anyway, good luck to the Scorpions on Sunday, and to our champions of Africa, Senegal. We are proud of you.
And I want to thank all the guys that have been very not nice to me. They've called me tribalist, they've called me every name, they've called me NPP, and hey, an ignorant idiot. What can I say? But again, thank you guys, and see you next Sunday, inshallah. We will definitely be back.